Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? Hope you're all well on this Friday already, July 25th. All right, so where should we start? We'll start at just the gold price. We'll get into Mark McGwire after baseball. Again, it's absolutely a joke, but here we go. So what have we done? We've watched the gold derivatives go from 24.84. We'll go from like 23.50 to 24.84. And one day go from 24.79 to 2400, then go down to 23.50, and now they're 23.85. A normal market, I see. I mean, this is just totally, again, very little derivative, very little put options. In other words, wanting the price to drop. These are all options wanting the price to go up. So you can see there's no down at 2 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock or even 10 o'clock. Went down $8, and then that's it. And now we're back at 23.85 on our way back to 24, on our way back to 25, up to 30, up to 3, up to 20. I'm fine, Greg and John. The baseball games, I don't know. I haven't looked at baseball. So that's the thing with gold. It's only derivatives. It's only the paper derivatives knocking the price around. It's not the free market. This is not what should be in any asset here, like the Rolex or the baseball cards, where it's free market. It's what the market says. So in other words, the individuals are setting the price. So there's a Mano card for 70 grand. I go, yeah, I'll take it. I'm setting the price. I'm saying, yes, it's worth 70 grand and I'm going to pay for it. But in gold, the 2300 is nowhere near what it should be, or 2385. Add a zero to it. That's the real value of it. That's why when I run to the store and I buy ounces and quarter ounces and silver, I dance out because I know, because the derivatives are lowering the price, that's not the free market. This is not a free market in gold, as I explained the other day. This is a very communistic government price fixed market. The government's setting the price, not the free market individuals. And we set every other price, except for this comex is so fucked up. This whole thing should be blown up because they do it for orange juice. Well, you saw Eddie Murphy, right? Trading Places. He's selling orange juice at 126, 130, and then he's buying it at 29. He didn't buy any orange juice. All he did was buy the contracts, and that was it. And that was the joke of it. Why aren't they selling physical product? I mean, selling all these derivatives is bullshit. I mean, that's just the bank making money. And then when they fuck up and they lose and they got to get bailed out, you have every advantage over us because you're price fixing thing. I got gas today and it was $3.40. It's $3.80 at most places, but I know where to go that's cheaper. And but even the oil price is COMEX. It's kept down. The market is not involved in the price of oil. It's strictly the derivatives and the government setting the price. And it's just amazing how naive everybody is, including the Mark McGwires and the alligators. McGwire's starting to get it because he's listening to me. But the rest of these guys, they're not. Even Andy Scheckman. And I got a heart today from one of the guys reading it where I'm saying it's this paper gold, not physical he's talking about. Andy Schegman doesn't even know what he's talking about. So all these guys, the gold price, and let's look at the chart in 2008, are fucking clueless because it's a government price. You can't forecast that. You can only forecast a market, right? Greg and John, will gold ever be free market? Well, that's what we're expecting with BRICS. That's the idea. That's why people are frustrated by gold, even though it has nothing to do with the value of the dollar. I don't know why people like see it drop and, oh, I'm not going to buy it. And in fact, I bet a lot of people sold their gold going, oh, it's down to 2350. It's just going to go down to 2000. Not understanding it's derivatives doing it. And there's too much buying by China and India and Saudi Arabia. They'll never let it go because they want, and there's not much left. There was central bank buying. Who sold? There was a country that sold, and India and Poland immediately bought it. So it tells you the demand for gold's there. If Poland bought 11,000 tons from who are 11 tons, I think they bought 11 tons. That's 32,000 ounces a ton. Means they can't find anywhere else to buy it from. So when the central bank wanted to sell some, they came in and said, we'll buy it. And they took the gold. Well, wait a minute. If they needed 11 tons, and why didn't they buy it? Because there isn't any to buy. Like I said, I go to my stores because idiots are selling it, not because he has any. There's no abundance. That's why you've got to buy it now before there isn't any left. And at what price? This is going. They're washing and rinsing what Mark McGwire says, which I think is they're taking delivery, and as they keep taking delivery, when the Fed, the only bank that's putting still doing these options because they don't understand Basel III or anything, they keep running out. They run out of gold, and eventually they can't do it if they don't have gold. So that's what's happening. Now, when it goes BRICS, and you said it 3 times in the show, when it comes out, when BRICS has the gold-backed currency in October, and he said it a bunch of times because there's a lot of people out there that aren't, even the alligator's not really, all of a sudden he's wishy-washy. Well, maybe they will. And here's Mark going, no, they're definitely doing it in October. So alligator, something's wrong with him. He's turning like Keynesian or something, or he already is. I don't know. He's not Austrian. So the belief is when BRICS goes to the gold-backed currency, they will do free market, and their value of when BRICS does it in October will be conservatively 10,000, right? It's going to be, they got a $3,000 target now, but once they announce it, they need gold much higher. And let's not forget who has all the gold. China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and everybody had, here's Poland picking up another 11 tons. And, they all have a couple hundred tons, a couple thousand tons. That's a lot, 32,000 ounces. I'm not near 1 ton, right? I wish I had 1 ton. But that's what's happening. So we've got to look at it. So that's should be a free market. Well, first of all, it ain't going to be. If comex, why would they want comex to set the price of gold when the U.S. has no gold and they have all the gold? They want to set their own price. Putin wants his own gold price. He wants to control it, not have the U.S. and comex control it. But they'll step in once it collapses. Then they'll step in. And and they keep saying that the gold in your Fort Knox, if I quote Die Hard 3, it might be there, but it's not ours. In other words, we've already sold it to China or India, and they've already got it, and it might be there. So in other words, like I was saying, well, let's say we'll go to Mahomes. So let's say I sell this card to Bobby, right? He's, I love Mahomes. It's 50 count. Okay, I'll give you $1,000 for it. I go, okay. He said, but can you hold on to it? Right? When I'll come by and pick it up. So when I'm in Detroit, I'll get it. So theoretically, I have the card, but it ain't mine. It's Bobby's, and he's paid for it. It's his card, even though I have it. So let's look at your Fort Knox. They have gold, but it's Bobby's gold. It's not their gold. And that's the thing. So people read it on the balance sheet as we got 8,000 tons, but it's not ours. And it shouldn't be on the balance sheet because it's gone, but we still show it on the balance sheet. That's the misleading part. It's not our gold. And that's why India just asked for some, and the African countries asked. They all want their gold back because they don't trust the U.S. to give it back. And I wouldn't trust them either. We'll go yeah. Well, we're hoping. I don't know what the BRICS will do. I'm hoping it goes free market, but it'll be much higher. That's for sure. Do you see the Bears winning a lot of games? Do you not listen to when I talk? I'm gonna ask you. I guess you don't. Either you just listen to a few minutes, but you don't watch the video, or what? I've talked about that several times. No, I don't see them winning a lot of games. I don't think Caleb's any good. Ask the Notre Dame game, ask the UCLA game. Take a look at those. He was terrible. A lot of interceptions, a lot of turnovers, a lot of sacks. Well, what are they going to do in the NFL? They'll come after him. Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, they'll all come after him. And even Tennessee will probably blitz him a lot. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not a good quarterback. So I think, do they have a good defense? I'm not sure. Do they have a good offense? Well, they got 2 receivers. I'm not crazy about their running back. He was on the Lions and he sucked. He went to Philly, but that was the thing. And you're all over the place. Baseball gold, the Bears, and China, Russia, Poland too. Wow. I talk about this stuff all the time, Greg and John. I'm really like confused how you're not listening, or you don't get it, or you don't ask questions. So no, the Bears won't win a lot. Yeah. What about China, Russia, Poland too? Well, yeah, they have a lot of gold. I've been saying that right along. Because they understand. They're smart. They see what's happened in from Rome to Spain to France to Germany to England to Denmark. They all had gold. They got rid of it. They inflated their money and they went broke. All of them. I was watching this German thing, this Nazi thing. So there's 2 parts. It's on, I think it's on Tubi. Anyway, it's 2-parter on the Nazi, how they financed, because basically they were broke, right? They have this massive hyperinflation in 1923. They replaced the Reichsmark with the Deutschmark. They're broke. They have no money. It's not worth anything. So they start, they got to build all these airplanes and tanks and make guns and all this stuff for the soldiers. They have no money. So they create this fake money, just call it monopoly money. And they're using that, and everybody knows it's fake. And they said, well, you keep it, and then you'll be able to turn it in for real money, like after the war, which 10 years later. So everybody has this fake money, and eventually that goes out. Hitler steals a lot of gold, and he steals a lot of paintings. And so he gets his wealth by invading the countries for the only purpose to steal the gold. And then I don't know what he never really spends the gold and gets the money, or at least uses the gold. So eventually in 1945, the German economy was cigarettes. So talk about barter. They use cigarettes to buy groceries and stuff like that. So anyway, that, whatever people have a value on is worth something. That's why we keep the silver, the physical silver. It'll be worth, the gold will be worth. My Mahomes card, I can probably go, and if I go to a certain type of store, a small mom and pop grocery store, I can probably use that. Here, I got a Mahomes card. I want to eat. Oh, sure. Or maybe if I go to a restaurant and I go, here's this Mahomes card, 50 count. Can I get a hamburger and fries? And they're like, oh yeah, I'll take the Mahomes card. Um, Whatever the medium of exchange is, which is what's wanted. So yes, China has about 60,000 tons. I think they have 40,000. The number keeps changing, but it's he said today it's like 40,000, but the citizens own another 20,000 in their savings accounts because of the housing collapse, and they don't trust the stock market, and they can't play Bitcoin. So all of it is going into gold, and all of it's going into gold, and that's the point. So, um, sorry, I'm hearing these strange noises. We've been having a noise problem here. People behind me played their music really loud. I thought it was, I got a neighbor here and a neighbor upstairs, but this was a third wall. There's like 8 in the unit. So that's the problem. Anyway, I don't mind it as much during the day. I do mind it at night when I'm trying to relax and come home from the lake. I take a nap or I go to bed or whatever. I can't even hear myself think because the music gets so loud. So I think they're fixing somebody moved out, so they're redoing the apartment. So the guy who comes in to clean it plays his music really loud and opens the door. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so that's what happens. So as I said, Russia's got about 60,000 tons. You got to realize there's the central banks, which is what the Jim Rickards and idiots like that say. And then there's the shadow banks, and they don't tell you what's going on. China's very secretive. So the central bank might have 2,000 tons, but the shadow banks have 30, 40,000 tons. And the people have another 20,000 tons because there's all these people. And Russia's got, I would say, 25,000 tons. Putin's got it in his swimming pool probably and all his locked places. You can bitch about Putin, but one thing is he understands gold, as does China. They know gold's the key and they buy it. And we're sitting here like a bunch of idiots because we have the worst government ever. And the guys that he put on are all like, so imagine the Secret Service director running, somebody like that running our treasury. Oh, gold? What's that? Oh, I didn't know there was gold. Oh, really? That's about what you have is the idiot Secret Service directors, the idiot Mayorkas, and the idiot in charge of the treasury and everything else. And the war guys, they're all idiots. I mean, but that's what they do. So that we have the worst government ever. Anyway, so with that said, the gold price should jump, but we'll watch Mark McGwire. Anyway, so that's where gold's at right now. Let's look at baseball. Yesterday, Atlanta under 7.5. Chris Sale, 3-2. They win in 10 innings, or they lose, but I don't care. I win because it's under that. So I had 7 units. Oakland over 9.5, 3 units. That wins. And Texas under 5. Scherzer or under 8. Scherzer was pitching, so I would have played it. So 5 units, because that's how I play it. I think it had just started when we came, but seeing Scherzer pitch, it would have been a play, just like Chris Sale was for Atlanta. That was yesterday. So 3-0. And let's go to 23.85 gold. Let's go to baseball. Okay. All right. Friday, nothing started yet. So they start at 6:40. First game up, Minnesota to Detroit. Minnesota's 185, 7.5. Pablo Lopez, 8-7 with the 4.86 against Kender Montero, 1-3 with the 5.97. Why is the over 7.5? So we're going to take Detroit over 7.5. And this is, I'm going to go 7 units on this. This is ridiculous. You got two shit pitchers. Detroit's hitting the ball well. Minnesota was hitting the ball well. So yeah, look for these. Well, it's in Detroit, so maybe that's why, because Detroit's a big ballpark, but they get a lot of hits in it, so it's fine. Cleveland at Philly. Philly 190-8. Ben Lively 8-6 with the 3.57 against Christopher Sanchez 7-5 with the 2.97. We're gonna go Philly. We're gonna go under 8. We're going to go 3 units. I don't like playing Philly under, but Philly hasn't been hitting. Cleveland didn't hit much against Detroit. So we are definitely going there. Cincinnati at Tampa. Tampa minus 127.5. Nick Lodolo, 8-3, 3.51 against Shane Baz, 0-1 with the 3.95. Has Shane Baz pitched a lot? No, he's pitched 3 games. 6 innings, 3 runs, 4 innings, 3 runs, 3 innings, no runs. This guy's getting, I don't know what happened again. Oh, he gave up 5 walks. So he's gone 6 innings once. So he gives up about 3 runs a game. And Nick is up 3, over under 7.5. Tampa's been hitting. Well, I don't know. Nick Lodolo, let's see what he's doing. 3.51 ERA. Oh, he's a TCU guy. There you go. He's pitched a lot. Look at his last 5 games. 4 runs to Washington, 2 runs and 4 innings to Miami, 4 runs to Colorado, 4 runs to Boston. 3 innings, 4 innings. He's not doing too well. He had a good stretch. It was 1-2-1, 2-1. So in 5 games, he had given up 2, but now it's 4-4, 2 and 4 innings, and 4 and 6 innings. So he's going to give up. So let's go T-Bay over 7.5. I'm gonna have to go 5 units here. I got 2 pretty shitty pitchers. Pretty decent. Tampa's been hitting, so I don't mind that. San Diego and Baltimore, interesting. Baltimore minus 200, over under 9. They're much better at home. Adam Azor, 1-3 with the 7.84 against Grayson Rodriguez, 12-4 with the 3.83. We're going to go Baltimore, and we'll go 3 units. This is, I got a 3.83 pitcher at home. 12-4 against the 1-3, 7.84 ERA. Texas at Toronto. Toronto minus 125.8. Andrew Heaney, 4-10 with the 3.60. UC Kikuchi, 4-9 with the 4.54. I don't know that I can figure out either of these teams. Let's take a look. I can find my sheets. So we've got Texas, a 241 batting average and 438. So they should be, they're lousy bullpen. They hit okay. And Toronto, 488 bullpen, and they hit 236. So neither team really hits great. Both weak. Kikuchi, both pitchers suck. We'll go over 8 here. We'll go 2 units. Just because the bullpens suck, and when you hit 240, it doesn't matter. It's an average. So, you get 10 hits today. Okay, they could, even though they hit 240. And even if they hit 300, wouldn't guarantee they'd score 5 runs. The Yankees at Boston, geez, those 2 teams never play. Yankees minus 120, 9.5. Nestor Cortez, 4-9 with a 3.99 for the Yankees. Brian Bello, 10-5 with a 5.27. I don't know. The Yankees have some injuries. They're not hitting like they should. Boston, it's at Boston, over under 9.5. This should go over, but I don't like the way the teams have been playing, so I'm going to leave this alone. The Braves and the Mets, interesting. Charlie Morton, 5-5 with the 3.92 against Kenya Segna, 0-0 with an 0-0-0. Atlanta's got four guys hitting under 210. The Mets seem to be hitting a little bit better. Lindor's up to 250. Mets minus 135. 7.5. What do I want to do with this piece of crap? Well, we don't know about the Mets pitching because he hasn't pitched. Charlie Morton 5-5 at the 3.92, but Atlanta's not hitting the ball, and the Mets started to hit. Now they're not hitting much. I'm going to stay away from this game. Let's see. I think it's probably an under, but how do I go under with Kota Senga with his 0.000 ERA? So I'm not going to fuck around with it. Seattle and the White Sox. This is a beautiful under. Seattle minus 175, 7.5. The game's in Chicago, and Seattle's a big favorite. George Kirby, 7-7 with the 3.20 against Drew Thorpe, 3-1 with the 3. Here we go. So we're going under here. We got Seattle under 7.5. We're going to go 3 units. We should go 5, but we're going to go 3, and we'll see how it is. Both teams are low scoring. I think Seattle has a pretty good bullpen, but they don't score a lot of runs. Neither does the White Sox. The Cubbies against Kansas City. KC minus 150.9. Kyle Hendricks, 2-8 with the 6.69 against Brady Singer, 6-6 at the 3.0. We got to go KC, 2 units. Brady Singer's had a bad outing last time, but he's 6-6 with the 3.0, so we'll go with them. Miami and Milwaukee. Milwaukee 225 favorites and over under of 8. Trevor Rogers 1-9 with the 4.59 ERA against Freddie Peralta, 6-5 with the 3.88 ERA. What you gonna do? 1-9 with the 4.59. So he doesn't win too many games. Peralta 6-5. Yeah, we can go Milwaukee. I'm not gonna bet it, but I like Milwaukee. Miami's been playing well. They beat whoever they were playing. They played the series pretty well. The Dodgers at Houston. Ooh, okay. Houston minus 135, 8.5. Gavin Stone, 9-3 with the 3.19 against Framber Valdez, 8-5 with the 3.63. Both teams hit the hell out of the ball. It's going to come down to bullpen. Houston's bullpen is a 3.73. The Dodgers bullpen is a 3.42. So pretty decent bullpen. But again, that's the whole bullpen, and that's the problem. I can't. It's hard to go under in a Dodger Houston game. Gavin Stone 3.19, 3.63 for either of them could throw a shutout. You wouldn't be surprised. So I'm going to lay away from this, but we'll be betting this over unless we get Verlander back, or we'll see. I don't even think the Dodgers have an ace, so this will probably be an over series. Washington, St. Louis looks like an under. St. Louis minus 185, 7.5. Mackenzie Gore, 6-8 with the 4.20, and Sonny Gray, 10-6 with the 3.54. Neither's been pitching that good. Sonny let us down last time. I went to Vanderbilt. How about that? Okay, look at the last 5 for Sonny. He started a lot. 5 runs to Atlanta, 3 runs to Chicago, 5 runs to Washington, 6 runs to Cincy. So he's been garbage his last 4. Let's look at Tex McKenzie here. North Carolina. 2 innings, 3 runs, 4 innings, 4 runs, 3 innings, 5 runs, 5 innings, 1 run, 5 innings, 5 runs, 5 innings, 4 runs. He's been pitching like a pig. So we got 2 pigs on the mound. Let's look at St. Louis. 3.50 ERA, not bad. 2.50 batting average. Washington, 4.10 ERA, 2.39. So We like St. Louis. We're going to go over 3 units, over 7.5. It's just too low. 3 units, it's 7.5 with these pitchers, and they've been pitching like shit the last 5 games. So they're just too weak. You got to watch the pitch. You can't just look at the 3.54 ERA. He's not the last 5 games. He's probably a 7 or 8 because he's doing it in 5 innings. He's giving up 3, 4, 5 runs. Oakland against California. So we played the game over. St. Louis over 7.5. Oakland and California. Oakland minus 110, 9.5. We had the over yesterday at 9.5, and they scored 15 runs. Oakland's been hitting the ball lately. They've been scoring a lot of runs. Oakland minus 110, 9.5. Paul Blackburn for Oakland, 3-2 at the 4.11. Carson Fulmer, 0-2 at the 3.63. Fulmer he went to Vanderbilt too. What is it, Vanderbilt Day? So against Oakland, he gave up 4 innings, 3 runs, 4 innings shutout, had a no-hitter for 4. Why did they pull him after 4 innings? 3 innings, 2 runs, 1, 2. Oh, he's a bullpen guy. So he's only going to go 3 innings. So now we got to look at California's ERA, which is 4.53. There's going to be a lot of runs here. We're going to go over again. Oakland's been hot, scoring. You ride the streak until it ends. I had a friend who used to say, well, I'll go 3 units. Why don't we just, if red hits, keep betting black? And my argument was, well, why don't we just keep betting red? If red's hitting, play red till it dies. Well, because blacks do. It's not what's due, it's what's happening. If every time red's hitting, blacks do, I could get 10 more reds, and I'm going to run out of money doubling up to try to get my money back. But if I bet red, I keep winning. I can only lose 1 bet, right? So you can't chase. You go with the streak. You go with the flow. So we're going over. Oakland's scoring a ton. Pittsburgh and Arizona. Now Pitt been playing well, low scoring. Interesting. Pitt's 52-50. Arizona's 53-50. Would you have thought Pitt was 52-50 or Arizona 53-50? No. Arizona's a 175 favorite, 8.5. Luis L. Ortiz for Pittsburgh, 5-2 with a 2.57. Zach Gallen, 7-5 with a 3.64. This smells like an under. Luis Ortiz from the Dominican Republic, and he's well, I don't know. He's been a bullpen guy, and then he's a spot starter. So he'll go 2 innings, and then he goes 5, 4, 6, 2, 6, 5, 7. So I don't know what happened in the 2 against St. Louis. Now, 0 runs, 1 run, 0 runs, 1 run, 1 run, 6 runs, and then the rest. So it was a fluke. He gave up 6 against Tampa. What a team to give up 6 against. So that's Pittsburgh. So he's very good. I'm going to go under here. Let's go Pitt under 8.5. This guy's a starter. We'll go 3 units. See, when you get your confidence, you'll play more games. You'll play a little more aggressively. But I'm nailing. I was this whole week I've been huge. 3-0. I think on the 24th I was 2-1, 3-1, 3-3, 4-3, 5-4. 5-4 is my worst day this week. I had a 6-6. Then I had an 8-3 and a 6-3. Pretty good fucking week. We still got Saturday. So we're going under Pitt, and then we got Colorado and the 49ers. John Elway against Joe Montana. Frisco minus 175 and 8. We got Kyle Freeland for Colorado, 2-3 with the 5.63. Kyle Harrison, 5-4 with the 3.86. Now remember what I said. Colorado on the road hits only 225. They hit 264 at home because all the pop-ups go from home runs, but not here. They did score 20 yesterday or the day before. It was yesterday. They beat Boston like 20-5. So keep that in mind. But on the road, they don't hit. And Kyle Harrison, 5-8 with the 3. Kyle Friedman for Colorado, 2-3 with the 5.63. Colorado don't hit on the road. Let's look at the 49ers. 244 batting average, and then a 4.32. And Colorado, see, again, I got to do a home and road ERA for him. It's 5.83, but that's at home where everything's multiplied. So I don't know. I don't think they're that good. So it's Kyle Harrison. Does he get the win, or do we go over 8? And then that's Frisco's hitting 244. I would think the bullpens are going to really suck and there'll be runs, but Colorado doesn't score on the road. So I'm going to pass on this. I kind of like the Niners, but I'm going to pass on it. I like betting on Joe Montana. So let's go. This all starts at 640. We got Detroit over 7.5 for 7 units. Philly under 8 for 3. Tampa over 7.5 for 5. Baltimore, 3 units. Toronto over 8, 3 units. Seattle under 7.5, 3 units. KC for 2 units. St. Louis over 7.5 for 3 units. Oakland over 9.5 for 3 units. Over. What did I got? I got a plus sign. Oakland over 9.5. And Pittsburgh under 8.5 for 3 units. So we got 2, 4, 6, 7, 10 plays. I'll probably go 7-3. Rare times I can go 9-1. Rare times I go 1-9. I've never had that. So baseball, we've got the variables pretty much figured out. The pitching, are they hitting? Are they on a streak? Like Oakland's scoring, Detroit's scoring. The Mets were scoring, now they're not. The Yankees are not scoring. So we take that into consideration. I mean, that's what you're looking for. So it's been working very well, this strategy. Now I'd like to get a little bit more deeper dive into it, which is like Colorado. So now we'll get batting averages home and on the road and bullpen ERA at home and on the road. Then we have a little bit more help. Now I'm, because like Colorado, I got 5.32. Well, I know at home it's probably 5, and on the road it's probably 3 because they bat 260 at home and 220 on the road. So they're a terrible team on the road, Colorado. So we will see. I mean, I'll dive into that. See how it's been evolving. I had a bunch of other stats. Then I said it doesn't matter. It only goes down to pitching and hitting, right? So I do look at the roster at the box score. Like the Tigers had 5 hitters hitting under 210. They had 3 hitters hitting in the 100s. But now they're all like injured or sent down to the minors. And so now the guys that are hitting 250, a lot of them. Yeah, you still have a few crap players. Javi Baez, hitting 171. Why is he on the team? Why are you paying this? I don't understand. So let me get this. So Jordan Love wants to renegotiate his contract because he figured out the offense, had a pretty good playoff against Dallas, San Francisco. He says, you know what? I want to renegotiate. I tell him to fuck off. You're on the rookie contract. You're not. Well, I think he sat on the bench for 2 years of the rookie contract while Aaron Rodgers, and last year's year 3. So I think he's in year 4 of his contract. So he wants to renegotiate. I tell him to go fuck off. I don't have to. You don't want to play? Fine. Go back to Utah State and play. I wouldn't be bullied by the guy. But on the same token, okay, so the player wants a raise because he figured it out. He'll sit out, but then there's a Javi Baez who hits 170. Why can't we negotiate his contract down to like here's $100 a game. Thanks for playing. So why doesn't it work that way? Why does it only work if the player figures it out and plays good? He demands more, he sits out. But when the player sucks, why isn't it the same way? Okay, we're gonna cut your contract. See, this is why the contract's got to be performance based. You don't just hand a guy a bunch of money because what he did. You hand him a little bit of money and say, "Here's your bonuses." So Jordan Love, you're gonna make $2 million this year, or let's take this Jared Goff guy who's signed for $50 million, which is an incredibly stupid thing to do. So let's go to Jared Goff and say, well, we're going to give you $10 million. Now, if you throw 20 touchdowns, we'll give you another $10 million. If you got more touchdowns than interceptions, we'll throw in another $5 million. If we win the division, you get another $5 million. If we win playoff games, you get another $5 million. If we go to the Super Bowl, they're not going to win it, but if we go to the Super Bowl, here's another $5 million. So you get your $50 million, but you got to earn it instead of just handing it to him and the guy fakes an injury and he sits out and that's it. And he bets against himself. This is the problem that sports has. Deshaun Watson, why is he making any money? Sorry, you're not playing. You don't get paid for not playing. You only get paid when you play. If you don't like it, fuck off. Go work at Kroger's. I don't care. I need a quarterback who's going to play. So what's Cleveland going to do? Have Deshaun Watson throw 5 interceptions and get hurt, and he's done. He's toast anyway. Put your money in Thompson Robinson, right? But that's how you need to do it. It should be incentive. Tyreek Hill, you want $30 million? I'll tell you what, I'll give you $5 million. And if you get more than 5 touchdowns, I'll give you another $5 million. And any passes over, catch 10 passes over 30 yards, another $5 million. And so many touchdowns, and there's your incentive. So you gotta perform to get paid. And that's how it should be. I mean, it should be based on performance, right? In the workplace, so I'm at Mercedes, and I was making so much an hour contract, and I had to perform to keep my job. In other words, okay, we'll pay you this, but we need you to do this, this, and this. And if you don't do this, this, and this, you're gone. That's how it should be in baseball. Okay, Javi Baez, if you can't hit 200, goodbye. That's it. Your contract expires. They got to put this in, and they're just these GMs are just so fucking stupid. They don't know what they're doing. Why would you give a guy, Jared Goff, $50 million? He's not worth 10. Why would you give him 50? I wouldn't give him 50. I wouldn't give Caleb anything. Prove it, Caleb. Let's see. Here's $2 million. And I know it's inflated, so it's really worth about $100,000. And here's $2 million. And then I'll tell you what, if we win more than 5 games, you get another 5. If we go to the playoffs, it's 5. If we win the division, 5. If you throw more touchdowns than interceptions, 5. And that's so it's got to be based on performance. You've got to have performance based for these guys in sports. I'm tired of them getting 30, 40 minutes, like Cabrera and the Tigers. Sign him to a 10-year contract, but it wasn't performance based. So he's hitting 180, and you're paying the guy $20 million. You're fucking up your team, and the guy's not worth 50 cents. Well, he did win the Triple Crown. Okay, so that year he'd have made out. But when he's hitting 180 and we're losing, and he doesn't do anything, he didn't earn anything. You got to earn it, and you got to earn it by your performance. You don't Deshaun Watson it and think you're gonna, oh, well, let's pay Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I know he, had sexual violence or whatever. So we'll trust him, and he sits out 2 years and he looks like shit. Thompson Robinson's a much better quarterback, and he's killing the team because he's not playing. Thompson Robinson needs to be the starter there. But that's how you got to do it. It's got to be performance. You cannot pay these guys based on here's what you did last year. Javi Baez got the contract because he had a good year in, I guess, the Cubs. and hasn't been anywhere near that since. So he sits on the bench. He doesn't care if he hits or not because you fucked up with your contract. You gave him, even if he did nothing, you're rewarding him. No, you reward based on performance. So I don't really get how stupid these general managers are. And if the player won't take it, tell him to fuck off. There's Kroger's. They need Packers, like Kurt Warner, right? Go work there. I own your rights. You're my asset. This is what I'm going to pay you on performance. So maybe you should play good, and you'll get all the money. But if you play like shit and you're always injured, you're not going to get anything. I don't know what you do in the injury case. Like Aaron Rodgers, what do you pay him for last year? There's got to be a minimum, something. Sounds good, TK. It's amazing. Hear you. Hear you. Well, that's why you tune in, because I make sense. I'm very analytical. I'm an INFJ, and I'm very stoic. So I think clearly. I'm not like Andy Scheckman, who just talks, but if you listen to him, he doesn't say a word. Or Peter Schiff, he doesn't say a word. Mark McGwire talks well. Egon talks well. His partner Matt is a fucking idiot. He was like a asset manager, and he sounds like an asset manager, just a salesman. See, the salesmen have no business being on YouTube trying to tell you to buy gold. Egon does, even though they're bankers, a little bit more. But you really have the economists like me on. But I'm a weird economist. I'm a special economist, I should say, because I can also talk sports and free trade and gold and Rolex and baseball cards, collections and finance. Not too many people can wear both hats, or however many hats I have. So that's what you have with baseball today. Keep an eye on the streaks. Some hitting. It's what tends to happen is, let's say you're on the Yankees, and then Aaron Judge gets hurt. Well, are you still going to bet him over? I mean, that's like Mahomes getting hurt. You can't bet KC over. He's hurt. So when you don't have quarterbacks, it's an under game. Like Chicago, Tennessee is going to be an under. The Giants and Minnesota is probably going to be an under. They don't have quarterbacks. Minnesota doesn't have a quarterback on their team, and the Giants don't either. None of them have a major, NFL quarterback. J.J. McCarthy, give me a break. How can he even see the field? I'm really questioning. He shouldn't have even started at Michigan, so I really don't know. He kind of scrambled a little bit, but we see that's, how many playoff games does Lamar win? He beats like Houston's and, shit teams, but he doesn't beat good teams. At the end of the day, the running quarterbacks just don't do it. Anyway, what was I watching? There was something I was watching I wanted to tell you about, but we'll get back to that. All right. College football variables. So we're not going to go through the lines. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll go through that. But the variables have changed dramatically in college football. You've got new coaches all over the place. You've got like Gabriel going from Oklahoma to Oregon. They changed their offensive coordinator. So you got, let's do run and shoot and we'll score. At the end of the day, you have to be able to run, right? You cannot win without running the ball. I've been watching Notre Dame, Alabama, like Sugar Bowl games. And I watched Miami against Michigan recently on the, it was a 1988 game or something. Jimmy Johnson was coach. And they came from, it was 30-14. Miami scores late, 30-22. Scores late again, misses the 2-point conversion. They're down 2. Onside kick, get it, go down, kick a field goal to win with 2 seconds left. That's Jimmy Johnson. Never, yeah, they can't do anything, and then boom, 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 they able to win the game. That's the difference. That's why you bet on Jimmy Johnson. But in the game, there was a lot of running. Michigan was able to score touchdowns running the ball, as was Miami. They had some passing, but a lot of running. And that's what you do. You basically have to be able to run. See, I don't get it. You're paying Tyreek Hill $30 million a year, but you're not paying the running backs. That's ridiculous. The running backs are the key to the offense, because if you just allow the defense to blitz the quarterback, and you see what happens when Georgia does it, the quarterback doesn't even have time to sit in the pocket. But if you can run, then Georgia can't just. That's why Alabama beat Georgia, because they could run the ball, and Georgia had to, like, wait a minute, are they running it? And then he'd throw some. Milrose would run the ball a lot. So if Georgia has a weakness, it's a running quarterback, a fast running quarterback. But you have to be able to, otherwise they'll just blitz you every time and you'll get killed. And you see Georgia doing this time and time again for the last 3 years. They've been just beating you to the spot and sacking you. So you must be able to run the ball. So the variables for college are the new coach. We're looking for the Jimmy Johnson. The new quarterback. We're looking for Joe Montana. Dylan Gabriel. We got Cam Rising finally back from being injured. That's what you're looking for in college. And you're conversely looking for the shit quarterbacks, the freshman who's 5 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. So we're also looking to bet against that. So again, art of war. We want to bet on strength, and we want to bet against weakness. That's art of war. So you're looking for the weakness. That's what you're doing. And you're looking for strength. So if you got LSU with Joe Burrow, we're betting the over, and we're betting on LSU. That's it. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're not trying to bet against LSU. I mean, maybe you might bet it under or over a little bit, but it's LSU and over or nothing. It's never the other. And they did beat a good Georgia defense. They pounded them pretty good. And Alabama, they killed them. So I loved it. But that's what you're looking for, is a Joe Burrow and Mahomes. Well, Mahomes didn't do much in college. It's a surprise he's doing as well as he is in the pros, because in college, that's why he got drafted at the end of the first round. And the same thing with Lamar. He didn't do anything in college. He ran a lot, but he didn't throw. I remember Clemson shut him out because they just took the run away and he couldn't pass. And that's what happens in the pros. They just take away the run on him, make him pass. He can't pass. He can't beat you with the pass. So that's what you do with these running quarterbacks. So the variables are the new coach. Is he Jimmy Johnson or Frank Johnson? You're looking at the quarterback. Is he Joe Montana or Bill Montana? The superstar runner we got at Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon, keep an eye on him. The killer defense, Iowa State, UCLA, Utah, Georgia. I don't know about Alabama now, because Saban ran the Steeler defense. Now I don't know what they weren't a great defensive team. Oregon's got the Georgia coach, the defensive coordinator. So it was funny. Their defense was fairly good, except for when they played Washington. That's how good Penix was. That's how good DeBoer is. I mean, Colorado got 6 points on them. USC barely scored on Oregon if they played them. All these high-flying teams played Oregon. They didn't do shit. And Washington was the only one to figure them out. And they just picked down the cornerbacks. That's how good Penix was. So that's what you're looking at. So we're keeping a close eye on Alabama. They are going to score points because they run that style of offense. The question is Milrose as good as Penix? We'll see. But that's the variables you're looking at. That strong defense, the running attack, the quarterback, the coach, and the balance. So we want a team that throws for 300 yards and runs for 300 yards because you can't defense them. Now, like Hawaii, all they can do is pass. They run for 80 yards a game, pass for 300. So we can blitz Hawaii. They can't do anything. They can't run on us. They can't keep us off balance. If I'm passing and running, you don't know what to guard. You're off balance. That's what I'm shocked Michigan won because all they could do was run. That's why I don't know why McCarthy's drafted at all. I mean, he showed me nothing. It's funny how Ohio State's quarterback, they basically fire him and he goes to Syracuse, and here comes the Kansas State. Now, the Kansas State quarterbacks, Joe Montana, like very good quarterback, Will Howard at Kansas State. Now he's at Ohio State. Look out. So you keep your eye. That's why we watch the stats. So we're going, oh, who's this quarterback? I find a lot of quarterbacks that way, especially in the Conference USA, in the Sun Belt, and the MAC. All of a sudden, you get this quarterback, and he's 15 touchdowns and 3 picks. You're like, was it against a high school team or against a good team? And if it's against a good team, then look out. We're going to be betting this guy. And that's how you find a lot of these guys. That's how I found Cam Rising and Van Dyke. I'm hoping Van Dyke gets back to his old form. I don't know. He's at Wisconsin. Great defense. I think their coach knows how to take a knee. If there's 30 seconds left, take the knee and we'll win. I don't know how the Miami coach kept his job. How can you make that mistake? It's like the CIA director or the Secret Service director was keeping her job. Oh, by the way, I guess they were gonna fire her and not give her like her pension unless she resigned. So she resigned because all the heat she was getting, and she looked like an idiot. I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that question. So could you imagine like Greg John's asking me, will gold will ever be free market? And I go, well, Greg John, I can't answer that question. Sorry, I can't answer it. It's too tough for me. I mean, that's why I like the live. You give me the question, I give you the answer. She didn't give the answer because I'm sure George Soros didn't want the answer. No loose ends. There, no. So this is the problem I have with the American government. If it was Russia, Putin would know it was George Soros and take him out. Right? He'd know exactly what happened. Right? They bombed them all. He knew it was the Ukraine guy. They couldn't even get over the border. They stopped him and basically put him in prison for life. He knew exactly who it was 20 minutes after it happened. But yet, somebody shoots Trump. We have no idea who did it. I mean, okay, the guy, we know who shot him. Of course, we killed him. No loose ends. Probably CIA again. And who did he work for? Well, probably George Soros and his group. So I mean, don't. This guy's not a lone wolf. That's bullshit. Lone wolves don't do that. Lone wolves are lone wolves because they keep to themselves and they're not gonna shoot the president. I mean, that's just ridiculous. They would think of a better way. They wouldn't just shoot him in the open, knowing Secret Service is there, knowing they're going to get killed, basically, right? Anyway, so this is what we look now. How do we get the variables? Well, that's why I buy Gray Sports Almanac, right? So I go through the teams. So right now we're in Conference USA. And we look and we see Liberty, and they're a good team, and all the way through down to Kennesaw State and UTEP and New Mexico State. And we are the quarterback back? Did they get a new coach? Those are the first 2 questions I ask. Is there a new coach? And I've got it on my spreadsheet. I have a column, coach. And if it's a new coach, I name them. Or if I don't name them, there's no new coach, new quarterback. Same thing. I'll call it out. We'll see his stats from last year on a different team if they're there. I can look at the stats on their offense and say, oh, they threw for 280 and they ran for 160. And then the occasional Navy, they threw for 84 yards and ran for 300. There's one of those teams like that. I don't know. I think it's Jacksonville State. They like threw for 100 yards, ran for 300. So you have that you understanding. Are they a good running team or not? Don't kid yourself. The good running teams are the best teams because you can't stop them. What was I watching? I think it was the Notre Dame Alabama game or Notre Dame USC, and they were just running the ball right at them, right through them, and you can't stop it because they just keep running it down your throat, and that's really the key. All those bow teams from Michigan, 99% of them were just running teams. You had such shitty quarterbacks who were, can he complete? Oh, he completed a pass. Oh my God. But that's what you had at Michigan. But once Bo was going, you couldn't stop them. They'd always score 45 points a game, when he was there, and they had great defense. You couldn't run on the defense. So their Achilles was if when they played at Ohio State or USC, they couldn't run on them. They were fucked. And then if a USC could throw on them, then they're really fucked because they were there. They played a weak zone defense, and they were there to stop the run. So if USC had balance, I was watching the 1973 USC Notre Dame game at Notre Dame. This is the year before, or maybe it was 72. No, I thought it was 73. And the game was the game at Notre Dame. And here's the year before USC puts 80 points up in the third quarter on the Anthony Davis kickoff return. And USC, you're looking at the offense. They got Pat Hayden, J.K. McKay, and a guy named Lynn Swann, and Anthony Davis is their running back. And they had a tight end. He played in the pros. So what an offense. How do you stop it? They give it to Anthony Davis, Swann to McKay, Swann to, Hayden to Swann, Hayden to McKay. I mean, good luck stopping that off. And they just go to the line, and it's like, how many heads are there? Oh, there's 7 heads. Oh, we're going to run. Oh, there's 8 heads. We're going to throw. So they took it off of, that's how Lombardi ran his power sweep in the 60s on the Packers. The defense determined what the offense was going to do. So you're coming up on your guy. Now, if he shifts, if he goes this way, you block him that way. But if he goes this way, you block him that way. So he tells you by where he's moving, where you're blocking him. So it's not a set. We're trying to block him and move him. It's whatever way he wants to go, we're just going to help him out and move him that way. That's why the power sweep works so well. And I think the Raiders use that because I remember John Madden saying, I thought I was this great coach, and I went to this Vince Lombardi coaches day or seminar. So this is like an idiot. I sat in the back of the class, and I thought I knew everything. And for 8 hours, he talked about the power sweep because it's all options. Where the defensive guy goes, you go with them and push him out, right? So he said Lombardi talked all day on it, 8 hours. And Madden walked out and says, I don't know anything. I thought I knew everything. He says, after Lombardi, I don't know I don't know how to coach. And this was obviously in the 60s, maybe the late 60s. I don't know. He might have been an assistant on the Raiders. I don't think he was the head coach yet. Well, maybe he was. Maybe it was his first year. But it just goes to show you. But the object was let the defender give you where, he's going this way, you're pushing him that way. He's going this way, you're pushing him that way. And that's all it was. It was simple. But that's how it is with USC back in the day. It was like, oh, they got 7 guys on the line, we're running. 8 guys on the line, we're throwing. I mean, that's all it was. And it was, you had a good quarterback in Hayden. You had Swann and J.K. McKay. And you had Anthony Davis. I mean, who are you going to take? We'll stop the run. Well, you got Lynn Swann. Oh, we'll stop Lynn Swann. Oh, we're going to run it down your throat. How do you defend that? That's why it's very hard. That's what we're looking for variables an offense that can do that. So we're looking good quarterback. They just happen to have Lynn Swann, who nobody knew who Lynn Swann was back there. Well, what was the first draft of the Steelers? And they were starting to get good. It was Lynn Swann. How does Lynn Swann drop to the Steelers? I'm sure if I looked at the Lions draft of 1974, it was probably an offensive lineman because they're cheap and they don't want to draft good players. So they always drafted shit players, except for Barry was the exception. They took Andre Ware because he ran the run and shoot and he scored 50 touchdowns. But the problem was the Lions didn't run the run and shoot offense. So therefore, he couldn't do anything. Then I think they brought in Mouse Davis to run it. And but Andre Ware was not a very good quarterback. So that was a waste of time. But so you've got to understand the variables. Like we talk on Titanic and gold, the Titanic is based on it hit a fucking iceberg and there's a hole in it. That's the variable. Now the ship's going to sink and you need a lifeboat. The dollars being printed to death is the is the impetus of the problem. So the flood of money is coming in. They're de-dollarizing, so all the U.S. dollars are coming back. They come back a lot with the bonds. So when the China sells $10 billion or $100 billion back, it all comes back. That's the inflation. So you need the lifeboat, right? So that's the variables we're looking at is how's our offense, how's our quarterback, how's our coach. Those are key. The Lions coach cost them the Super Bowl. Oregon's coach cost them the playoff. Kept going for 4th and 2 against Washington. He wouldn't make it. Instead of kicking a field goal to tie the game at the half, and then they would have been up more. And then at the end of the game, he goes for it at midfield, doesn't get it. 2 plays later, touchdown Washington game, and he costs them the fucking playoff by being an idiot. So that's why you got to have good coaches who are smart and go, no, take the points. Don't go for 4th down. We might not get it, and it's a big momentum lift. So again, I was watching, I don't know what game, Alabama, Notre Dame, or USC, Notre Dame, or Michigan, Ohio State. And there was, it might have been Michigan, Ohio. There was a lot of fumbles in the game. And no, it might have been Michigan, Miami, and Jimmy Johnson. And there'd be a fumble, and here's Keith Jackson. Oh, look at the momentum for Miami. Michigan fumbled, and now look at all the momentum they got. That's the same thing as going for it on 4th down and not getting it is the same as fumbling. Just kick the field goal. What are you doing? Take the points. And in that game, Michigan kicked 4 field goals. They made 2 and they missed 2. And but that was, and at the end of the game, the Lions coach would have went for it on 4th down, and Jimmy Johnson kicked the field goal to win 20. I think they won 26-24. The game in they won 31-30. The game in Michigan. Great game. It's on YouTube if you want. And they have the fast track, so you can see it in 30 minutes. You get the whole game. I love that. So that's the variables you want to look for, but you're doing it in everything. We're doing it in gold. What's the variable? Brics, catching the comex, do the derivatives, getting physical gold, not ETFs. That's the key to it. Go out and get as much physical as you can. I'm kind of frustrated because I can't get the job, or I can't get the trust. So I don't know what the trust is going to be, but I definitely could buy more gold. Now I got an opportunity. Gold's back under 2,400. I could get it in the 24s. I can get it 650 quarter ounces, but I can't because I don't want to have to sell my gold cheap. So therefore, I'm holding on to my dollars now until I get something that I can release the dollars for the gold. But I don't have, I have enough dollars for a while, but between the gold and the trust, I should get a lot of money in, and then I'll be fine. So the gold should be 3,000. And anyway, so that's your variables. It's the same in pros. We got all these new quarterbacks. The difference is in college, the transfer quarterback plays. In the pros, you're not going to see Drake May, and you're not going to see J.J. McCarthy out there. You might not see Penix for a while. You got Kirk Cousins if he's recovered. Aaron Rodgers, is he ready? So a lot of these drafted quarterbacks, you'll see Daniels, I think, right away. Bo Nix right away. Caleb, you're going to see right away. So you're going to have a good feeling on them. But those are all variables that you have to figure out. Even at New England, okay, they go to Brissett. He's not very good. So you got Brissett, and he's better than Drake May. You just wasted your third pick on that. And McCartney at Minnesota, you got Darnell, who sucks. And if you got Darnell, Dallas, if Prescott's hurt, you got what, Trey Lance or somebody? I don't know. You got big problems there. Even with Prescott, you got big problems. So those are variables you're going to look at, and that's why we stress the coach, we stress the quarterback, and we stress the defense. The defense will shut you out. Very hard to score on the defense. Even with Dan Fouts, Dan Marino, give Dan Marino credit against the 84 Bears. He did put up 35, 40 points, but it was because they blitzed him, and he's got a quick release, and he had fast receivers, and they were beating the one-on-one covers. But, there's a lot of times Marino didn't do shit. So there were certain teams that knew how to play him. But, yeah, I mean, like Aaron Rodgers, he's a very good under. He'll run that clock down to 1 second, and then he hikes the ball, and it just eats the defense up, and he's smart enough to know where the weakness is and gets the first downs and slowly, methodically drives it down, takes 6-7 minutes off the clock. It's a great under quarterback. But that's what you're looking for. And then you're looking for the injuries going, who do we got? Who's the backup? Look at Cleveland yesterday. They had to go to Joe Flacco. I was watching a Joe Flacco playoff game, and he sucked. That's why I couldn't believe he played. But if you got to go to like a 40-year-old to be your backup quarterback, and he's Joe Flacco who sucks, you got problems. So Cleveland, they got problems with their quarterbacks, but we'll see. But they got to get rid of Deshaun Watson. He's not good. And he's, again, you guaranteed his money instead of, based on value, based on consumption. All right, so that's football variables. The coach, the quarterback, are they a balanced offense? And how good's their defense? So you got Iowa, you got Georgia defense, we'll see what USC does. Arizona, very good. Oregon should have a great defense. Washington, we'll find out. They all have a good defense because they got the Arizona coach who was very good. He won with his backup quarterback. The regular guy got hurt, and then Latifa comes in. He's the backup, and he was great. That was just like Cam Rising and Van Dyke. They were the backups. Guys get hurt. Here they come. Boom, boom, boom. 40 points a game. And there you go. So I look for Arizona to be very fucking explosive. But that's what you're looking for. Missouri, great quarterback, Cook. Georgia, strong as shit. Alabama should be explosive as hell. Tennessee should be explosive, but they got a new quarterback. We'll have to keep our eye. He's a freshman. Didn't look like shit. Well, we'll see. So that's really what we're looking at. Those are your variables. All right. So with that said, let's go to Mark McGwire. The title is India Exploits.
My new book, Keyboard Rich, How Anyone Can Earn Six Figures from Home with a Simple...
Oh, of course. Okay, the title is India Exploits Fed's Rig Gold Scam. Really, what India is doing is buying gold cheap because when we keep the price down, they buy it cheap. Now, the whole Ponzi scheme of this is to make money both ends, like Eddie Murphy, right? So if it's really high, they short it. So they sell first and buy the derivative on the other end. When it's really low, they buy it and then sell it when it goes way up. That's what these guys think is volatility. It's not volatile at all. If you understand the game, it's exactly the way it's played. When it goes really high, you sell it. When it goes really low, you buy it. That's like Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack. Oh, they're all buying, sell. Oh, they're all selling, buy. I mean, that's the whole point. But it's fixed. It's a rigged game. But they're running out of gold to keep playing the gold, and that's what Mark McGwire is going to talk about. The wash and rinse cycles. He thinks it's a laundry machine. So anyway, that's what's going on. Let's see if I go down here, I get the chapters, right? So these are the chapters he's going to cover. So let's go. And in here, he says at least 3 times when BRICS goes to the gold-backed currency in October, because Alligator's saying, well, I don't think they're going to do it. And so there's doubt again. And Mark's like 3 times. No, when the gold-backed currency comes out in October, because he must hear that. If he listens to me, and I'm sure he does, he hears me bitching about Alligator saying, well, what the fuck? Are they doing it or not? And I say, Mark McGwire said so. And so he's like, yes, October. So it's just amazing. It's just amazing. It's just good to hear it. All right. I'm going to pause, it's 40 minutes. I'll jump to certain spots, but basically, if he starts getting a little crazy, I'll just pause it and I'll try to explain because God knows what he's talking, and we'll try to do that. Okay.
Accelerate both the de-dollarization and the revaluation process.
They now have to keep printing or we crash. We've got weeks ago in your last market update, it was July the 12th, you were mentioning and showing some charts about option expiration here later in the month. And you mentioned how the COMEX option expiration structure looked kind of bearish. You contrasted that, the Shanghai operation structure, which looked kind of positive. And you thought maybe once we got through the COMEX option expiration on Thursday the 25th, that the market might start stair-stepping higher again. All right, so that option expiration is behind us. What are your current thoughts? What do you see now?
Okay, I'm going to talk first. What is option expiration? That's the whole thing with these options. So when Eddie Murphy does an option, well, it was different because it was all on the trading floor. But when you do a normal option, it's a put down and call up. So if I do a put option at gold at, what is it, 23.85 today. So if I were to do a put option, I'm selling it at 23.85, means I'm buying it cheaper. And in the option is this set when what the price is. It's called a strike price. What the price is that you make money on. And if it doesn't hit it, you lose. Most people lose in options. So the option was expired the 25th, which was yesterday. So Luke asking me, why is the price going? Why did it go down from 24.85 to 23.50? We're going to explain it right now because the strike price. So they were trying to dump it. He's going to go into this and I'll let him, but I'm explaining it up front. That was the whole point, was the banks are trying to get out and get to that strike price. So they dumped all this gold, all the options on it, put options to try to get the price down to get out of the options. And that's what they did. That's why it went down so much, because it expired yesterday on the 25th. And they got to pay up if it expires and it's not hit the strike price. It didn't So let's say they had to get to 2350. Well, they probably needed 2400, but they probably did new options at 2400 down to 2350. So they do this, they shorted it, and then they sold it at 24. They got to buy it at 2350, but they got to push the price down because it's going the other way. These whole put options are just incredibly stupid. Everybody's buying gold. Why are you wanting it to go down? So as it nears expiration, which is the 25th, if you're not down there, you lose the option and you have to pay up, right? It costs you money. So you're not hitting the strike price, you're out of the strike price, you lose. So that's why they dumped because of the expiration on July 25th. So we'll have the same thing August 25th or whenever the August one expires. That's why you get the big hit, and then it immediately goes back up. So we went 24.79 all the way down to 24, then down to 23.51, and now it's back to 23.85 on its way back to 24.50. But they won't be able to keep doing that. They can do it a little bit, but now it's getting too much. Why they keep playing it, I don't know. It's incredibly stupid. They're losing their ass because normally they don't get this big thing. But because it ran up so much, that was it. Now, what India is doing is seeing this, and they're going, oh, well, let's just wait for the drop, and then we'll buy. So now everybody's being accustomed to their 10 o'clock drop. As I've noted, Mark just figured it out. I've had it for 5 years. The 10 o'clock, all the other markets are closed. The U.S. comes in and starts, shorting from 10 to 10:30 usually. But then, so now what's happening is all the other countries are realizing this, waiting for the drop, then they can buy it cheaper, right? And that's what I did. And when I was doing the stocks, let's say it was $45 Newmont mining, 10 o'clock goes down to 44.50, maybe 44. And then as I see it start to go up, now I buy the stock goes up, and I then get 60, 70 cents on 1,000 shares, and I get out. And I did that every day for a long time. It was the easiest money I ever made because as long as you were content to take 60, 70 cents, sometimes 50 cents on 1,000 shares, that's 500, 600, 700 a day. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to be a millionaire doing that, but I am trying to make good money. 500, 600 a day. I'm making some pretty good money. So, but I've got out of that because I don't trust the stock market. Newmont mining went all the way down to 28. I'd have got my ass kicked because if the stock went down, you are then waiting for it to get back up. So in other words, it's 45, it goes down to 44. Then it starts turning up. Okay, now I'm going to buy my 1,000 shares. Then it double crosses me. It'll start going up, and then it goes back down. But let's say it goes all the way down to 30. How do I get out of it? Right? So I'm either waiting or I'm getting out at a loss. As I see it drop $1, $2, okay, I'm getting out. But usually what happened is it would go down $1 or $2, and I'd stay in it going, well, it'll come back up. It went all the way down to 28. That's why I got out of it. But I got out of it when it was 64, going down to 48, down to 28. Now it's back into the 40s. But it does that every day. The gold drops because of the 10 o'clock, and then it goes back up. So the big reason for the big drop was the option expiring on the 25th. So they had to do the push to get the price down before it expires. Because now, if it went down, it's already expired. So now you'll see it go up because it's after expiration. So they'll do their new derivatives, but they don't know what the fuck they're doing. To go to short gold is like the stupidest. That's like betting against Mahomes or betting against Joe Burrow when he's healthy. There's no point in it. All right.
The idea really was to step back from the very short-term chart chatter to assess whether this incredible paper to physical divergence would provide us an opportunity for us mere mortals to tailgate the competing central bank buyers who are busy alchemizing paper dollars into physical gold at a pace we've never seen. And obviously into these gifted synthetic discounts. We look at this not so much from a trading perspective, but to assess a closing window for us to follow these central banks in protecting our wealth as well. Now, sometimes a picture is better than 1,000 words. So before we look at some other pertinent subscriber questions, in answer to the subscriber questions you opened with, let's look at the underlying physical market footprints we see actually developing shorter term, and why every first-tier liquidity provider sees gold at $3,000 by year end, or at the very latest early next year. So having received positive feedback about the charts we presented last time, and at your request, guys, I've been sharing here, I'm going to share here what I just recorded live just a few minutes ago. And you'll see the charts developing as we go through them.
So I'll start with gold. Now I've stripped down these charts so that they're not full of clutter, so we can better see what's going on. So let's kind of look at last week's COMEX driven action in gold futures, and this is the futures contract, the August futures contract, where we saw into the three sessions, trading sessions here, and here, we evidenced an all-time high, spot gold high, being printed at 24.8025, which is 24.8840 in futures. And that was into strong central bank physical demand related to the Asian trade, followed by another well-attended Loco London PM fix on Thursday, which was again attended very, very strongly. However, the moment London fixed, London, Europe, and the FX markets cleared for the day, look, the Fed sellers moved in setting up an extremely aggressive official gold intervention. And of course, capitalizing on extremely thin conditions, on illiquid paper market conditions. Now, these timed Fed-induced official interventions reveal a weak hand, and as we'll explore shortly, they're not going unnoticed by central banks, looking at exactly what we're illustrating here today. Now, I'll just condense this chart up a little better. Now, since the beginning of the beginning of July, we've seen 150,000 lots of fresh gold futures open interest. Let's call them the casino chips. And that represented 467 tons of 4% backed gold, which CTAs had accrued since the July trading had commenced. So now, of course, this was the sole focus of the official rinse target, which commenced here. Now, keep in mind that the Fed interventions look dramatic, but the scope of these wash and rinse cycles are limited to how many CTAs can be wrong-footed so as to not expose the Fed to delivery obligations they cannot fulfill. Now, into this wash and rinse cycle, where we saw the bulk of the CTA, the momentums coming on board, adding this open interest, really accelerating the addition of open interest, and that by about another 60,000 lots, or nearly 70,000 lots of open interest. Following this rinse and look as to what they've done, and what they've done is this is the gap close position. This is when most of them came on board. This is what was rinsed. So they did actually front run that getting touched. And while the open interest won't appear to have been reduced that much, this is because due to the addition of momentum-driven naked short selling, which picked up on the way down, don't forget momentums are not happy sideways. They're either naked long on the way up or naked short on the way down. And guess who is on the other side of that trade on the way up? It's the commercials on the short side, and that is really, again, not the bullion banks who are long for their own book. This is the agent bullion banks getting ready for a rinse. And of course, this is exactly, and you need power, you need position concentration to be able to do this into a strong physical market. So while we saw that rinse out here, it won't necessarily have rinsed out all of these positions.
So that's the 2480 down to 2400. And what he's saying is the US did it. God knows why. Well, I assume they're shorting it at 2480 and then they're buying it at 2400. So that must be why. And wait till the Asia and Europe central banks have gone home for the day. That's why they do it at 10 o'clock, just when they go home. And there was nobody there to pick it up at that time. And it allowed them to then get out of their options without losing too much of them. Because the strike price and the expiration was yesterday. And so they got out of the option, and they probably lost their ass. But why are you betting against Mahomes, guys? Are you out of your mind? Are you betting against Georgia? I don't understand what they're doing. So yes, we're hoping, again, this is paper. This is the market, the government dictating the price with these derivatives, the government saying we want a lower price. Don't know why. It has no bearing on the dollar whatsoever. So that's what he's talking. That's why you see this big drop. That's the 2480 we were all happy about. Then going to 2400, going, what the fuck was that? So that's one of the keys we're getting out of this. He's explaining that big dump, and then we can see, oh, it was just bullshit. And I keep warning you, it is not physically demanded market, free market, supply demand. Nobody's selling the gold, and everybody's waiting to buy the gold. When they lower the price, then everybody steps in and buys it. And that's why we're back to 2385 on its way back to 3000. So they played a little game. It makes no sense to me. I guess they're making money on the option. So it must be corrupt, where they said, look, we're going to, at 2480, we're going to run an option down to 2400. Stay out of the way. And here's your cut, and play the options. It's the only thing I can think of. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. All right.
It has rinsed the long ones out, but as these CTA sellers come in, then we have the commercials on the long side of those trades. So the open interest doesn't appear to have reduced by that much. However, in typical OPEX wash and rinse fashion, CTAs will realize too late they're being set up for an upside rinse, a short squeeze. So let's pop over to the 4-hour charts to take a little bit of the chart chatter out. And if you remember, last time we talked about the two Fed interventions here. Here's where the Fed intervention came in, and guess where we bounced? So in other words, it looks like we're forging a new higher stair step. So into the period where CTAs chase the long side with the Fed agent banks 1-to-1 on the short side, what is missed by many analysts is that while these synthetic COMEX-centric CTA long positions are only 4% backed, following the Fed's misstep in overshooting the identified central bank bids we'd identified back down here at 2000, remember we looked at this before, and that was into the February options expiry, forcing them to buy physical at market to fulfill central bank delivery obligations they did not have sufficient CTAs to short cover into to offset their backfiring short sales. So in essence, they're really restricted to how many CTAs they can suck in before exposing themselves to physical delivery obligations. This was a breach of the 2000 level. What did that do? It forced a $450 rally with freshly unbacked CTAs enjoying a free ride, actually, without getting rinsed out. This is a change in behavior. Now, what we're looking at here very quickly, we're looking at each of these cases are options expiry events. And where do you think we are here? Another options expiry event. So it's a synthetic chase. Now, this is where the SHFE contract kicked in. So we'll talk about that. We talked about that last time. So when these kind of situations happen, and we've just did breach support, a spot support central bank bidders at 2400, what happens here and what's happened every time is that into each of these wash and rinse cycles, the Fed is forced to buy gold at market to fulfill backfiring delivery obligations. And of course, this is on the 1st of March. The Chinese futures SHFE exchange was open to citizens who are better, and unlike the Western-facing actors, these actors are betting on a government-backed higher gold price. Meant that the COMEX CTAs have been partly responsible for the velocity all this time of the gold rally. This is an interesting situation, because while the physical markets are increasingly setting the gold price, rinsing out these tailgating unbacked longs has become much more difficult, as it is seen into every subsequent bearishly based OCC COMEX options expiry. We talked about those in the files. The OCC bets are FX related and in the billions, and the COMEX options are also related to that. So each time we see these wash and rinse cycles, it is to protect these derivative bets. And in this case, they've been rallying from the June options lows. But little do they realize, they're unknowingly underpinned by strong global central bank buying, whereby last Wednesday, so strong was the upside momentum, it risked driving a higher physically anchored stair step at 2,500 spot being crystallized, and that would be a full week ahead of the mark-to-market event tomorrow, which is options expiry. It came very close. And once certain levels get overcome, then the central banks come in and accept those as the floor. While into a raid, they'll just sit back and quietly take what's on offer. Why wouldn't you? If central bank bids had been filled at 2,500, which is pretty much this related line this directly related to this line here, this would have, and ultimately still will, become the next higher base rally point. And once it does, there'll be little in the way of $3,000. Now, we'll look at the reasons for that shortly, but had the Fed not stepped in last Thursday and Friday, 2,500 spot would have been set as support ahead of tomorrow's imminently expiring very large OCC FX bets and directly related COMEX bets against gold, but made between 2,350 and 2,400. Now, the OCC side of these bearishly structured bets are in the billions, and given they relate to technically NSFR compliant FX gold, one can see the robbing Peter to pay Paul predicament the Fed is in. It's the Fed, the only central bank left betting against gold. Now, a lot of these bets, so this is the daily chart, and if you remember, we looked at sideways up, pullback, sideways up, pullback, and we hadn't seen that pullback yet, but we did suggest we would see something similar. But a lot of these bets were made right around about here. And so when gold would have been in the 1900s, let alone 2,300 and 2,400, that the very short-term officials, what it's doing is seeing that these short-term officials are on a slippery derivative slope, feeding bullion into the hands of every other central bank racing to accrue bullion ahead of into the October launch of Glasnev's gold-backed currency. Now, while this 100% COMEX-centric, extremely counterintuitive official intervention was obvious to us, it was also obvious to real physical market actors who, while not price sensitive, moved to lock in COMEX EFPs and T+1 spot index orders into the lower band of the Fed's wrong-footed OPEX-related discount, which we see is here. It's not that central bank sovereigns and large institutional buyers were looking for lower prices to buy physical. These Fed-induced dollar index to gold FX interventions provide them a stealthy window to sell and exchange bonds and the dollar for NSFR-compliant physical gold into which they are assured T+1 supply. Now, we figured it would take a few sessions to blow back on the Fed, which it usually does. But just like it did into options expiry in February, March, April, May, and June, now we're seeing the same in July. It will actually physically blow back on the Fed. Now, we still have another day to go to options expiry, so this has happened just a day or two earlier. So always
Expired
been
yesterday.
skeptical of there may be a few more little desperate attempts to get these derivative bets.
It expired yesterday. Let's go a little bit more, and then we'll go to the next section.
Into line. But really, we're seeing this as now a very strong physical support level. Ironically, because central bank sovereign buyers are focused on swapping as many dollars for gold as possible so as to participate in the upcoming October BRICS currency launch, and are insensitive to prices sub 3,000, even if the deliverable spot gold price has been driven higher by naked short CTA actors chasing the gold price higher, as they have in each instance and every single month since, these useful fools have been assisting in raising the support range of each synthetic wash and rinse cycle, each time rallying from a higher stair step.
Okay, so we heard there, that was the first time he says, getting ready for the BRICS gold-backed currency in October. He just said that. And then, so like, I know you guys sweat a little bit when the gold price goes down, and I try to warn you, it's just derivatives. It's not demand. It's not nobody selling it. And we have BRICS, and it's going to raise it. So we just said there, confirmation, October, BRICS, gold-backed currency. And he'll say this a little later, that 3,000 is very conservative. It'll be much higher. So that's what I've been preaching to the choir, trying to get you to understand and not be afraid, Luke, when it does go from 2480 to 2400. Again, you're thinking, as we all will, that it's a free market. That's, oh my God, it went down in the free market. That's where you're thinking like stocks. Oh, why did Microsoft go from 150 to 100? Then you'd start worrying, oh shit, whether the president get in trouble or what caused the drop, right? Because stocks are much different. Oh, they missed their earnings number. They aren't forecasting high enough revenues. So that's why you worry in stocks, but you take it into gold. And so when you see gold go down, you're like, oh, why did it go down? It didn't, because this is a paper game. This is derivatives raising and lowering the price. And this has nothing to do with free market. This is the government dictating the price until we can get to a free market, which is what looks like we're getting in October. And that's the point of it. So you've got to understand the game. I keep trying to hammer that point home. If you understand the game, you don't get worried when the price drops. Because you can see all his charts, what she's saying. Don't worry, there's always strong demand knocking it back. This is just so they can get out of the derivatives. That's why the price is going down, because it's paper, it's derivatives, it's Eddie Murphy. That's why the gold price drops, not because of lack of demand, not because people are selling it. Nobody is selling gold. He made an example. There was a country, and they wanted to get rid of 11 tons of gold, and Poland bought the 11 tons of gold. So there was a swap, central bank. So very few are selling. When they do, it's immediately bought because the demand's so high for gold, but they kind of deflect it. Like, we're in a recession, but do you hear? Inflation's 20%. Do you hear it? Well, it's not even, it's much more than 20%. But do you hear that? No. So if you don't hear it, you don't realize it. There's a lot of stuff Hitler did that he kept saying. What was it? Somebody kept saying something, or Biden keeps saying Trump's dangerous. Trump's dangerous. So the guy tries to shoot Trump because he's dangerous. Well, I don't know. I think it's George Soros, but again, that's the point. So anyway, so let's get back.
So looking at these footprints that we've just seen, it once again showed a weak Fed hand. And this is the point we're trying to make. Now, we'll look at more of that in a second. But what we need to do is underscore that if a central bank wanted to sell a few tons of gold, such as Kazakhstan's 11-ton sales in the second quarter.
There you go.
They sold 11 tons in the second quarter, which was immediately bought directly by Poland, who bought 10 tons, Turkey 6 tons, India 4 tons. I mean, Czech Republic 3 tons. I mean, in other words, when these sales come, they are more than taken up directly by another central bank. So, and we've seen it with the IMF.
So what that means is the demand is high. Let's go to Rolex. Limited supply, huge demand, high prices. Gold, limited supply, huge demand. Where's our high price? This is why we got to be careful when the government's the one pricing it and not the market. This is the problem with communism, why it always fails. It's socialism, same thing. Why they always fail, because you must have the price of the free market must be the price, not some made up bullshit. I mean, that's why I laugh. 2,400 for gold. That's what I'm saying. Add a zero to it. It's much higher than 2,400. How the fuck does Rolex get $50,000, $100,000 watches, and we're looking at Michael Jordan rookie card, 500,000, but gold's 2,300? Yeah, see, that's why I'm saying it's 20 or 30,000 at least, because it's been priced down. These derivatives keep the price down, and it's a paper price. And if you did that in Rolex, then it would do the same thing. The Rolex is only $3,000. Would anybody buy them? But you see Rolex go to 60, 70,000, and people buy them as an investment. Well, I'm going to buy 3 watches, and it's going to go up in value because they don't make any, and and because it does go up, people are driven to it. Oh, you mean I buy a Rolex for 20 and it goes up to 30? Well, that's Nick there. He bought his Rolex, goes up to 30. He made money buying the Rolex, not doing anything. Just that it's so popular, it's strong demand and very limited supply, and you make a fortune. So, and then so keep in mind. So you got $100,000 Rolex. The dollar goes out, which is going to happen soon. It goes to zero in dollar world, right? The value of the Rolex in dollars is zero, but in gold, it's something. And as gold goes to 50,000 and then the dollar goes out, now gold's going to be worth even more because it's the only currency out there. That's why I'm saying you buy a house with 2-3 ounces, because it'll theoretically be, well, you don't even know what it is, because then this is why you can't have fake prices. What is the value of gold? And then what is the real value of the $500,000 house in dollars with all this massive inflation? It's probably only worth 200,000. That's why you can probably buy it with 2 ounces of gold. The gold will be like 100,000 an ounce, and the house is really only 200,000 in gold versus the dollar, versus, in dollars that are heavily inflated, which means they've been printed and devalued. So all the prices go up. That's why. All right.
Sold gold to India, 200 tons. I mean, in other words, what we're trying to say is this is central bank to central bank. Now, we've seen all of those 11 tons that we just talked about in fact, 2 months ago in May, when we saw this rally going on. Now, it's always the case, and this is the point I'm trying to make. When a central bank sells, in order to get the best price and to not discount the market, these transactions get bilaterally settled directly between another central bank off the market, but at the market price. And we've got plenty of
which is the
evidence
paper price.
That any excess bullion that comes on sale is directly sold into the Sino-Russia alliance in largely unreported monetary gold form. Now, liquidity providers report that the PBOC welcomes these exchanges of dollars for gold with wide open arms, negating them to report official market purchases. So put this reality into context with the impossible to supply 467 tons of comex synthetic gold that was dumped all at once at the market price. In other words, creating an air pocket directly after the highs that we showed you was struck
That's the
on
big
Wednesday, the 17th.
24.85 going to 24 is what he's
What
saying.
they did was first they waited for London, Europe, and all other markets to be closed. But you have to give your head a shake. This so-called sale constituted close to 30% more bullion than China produces in a year. And while gaslighted, siloed COMEX traders accept these sales at face value, even they should realize that this kind of size would not be dumped all at once into the most illiquid conditions after a gold fix. Of course not. Now, what we witnessed was the Fed actioning their historical modus operandi, namely waiting for sufficient naked short CTAs, the paper traders and the COMEX, basically. There were enough long CTAs to build before creating a waterfall event. And they can do that because they have position concentration. Now, these CTAs have been coattailing a strongly rising physical gold price being set outside the LBMA CME ring fence, driven by an accelerated move by the Sino-Russia BRICS alliance to de-dollarize into gold before the early fourth quarter BRICS gold currency launch. And
He said it again.
Then that follows the US elections.
So he just said it again. Before the BRICS October third quarter gold-backed currency. He says it like 4 times because he wants to make sure that you've heard it and you understand. In October, they are going to a gold-backed system. Forget what Alligator says. Well, maybe, and at some point, Alligator's he's on drugs or something. He's not clear. Mark is. So Mark keeps saying the October gold-backed currency by BRICS. I mean, he keeps saying it, keeps saying it, keeps saying it. So if you do sell your gold, I would highly recommend getting this BRICS gold-backed currency for it, not the US dollar for it. If you can, we'll have to see how it plays out. But if I'm going to sell my gold at $10,000 US, I want $10,000 worth of BRICS gold-backed currency for it, not US dollars that are going to zero. So keep that in mind. We'll talk more about that once we learn it.
Now, using the thinner conditions last Friday and 2 further short sales, and look at the timing here, Monday, 2:30 a.m., Tuesday, 2:30 a.m.
That's 10 o'clock.
And what they're doing is pulling bids there. They're not adding shorts so much as pulling the bids in illiquid conditions. Now, every single CTA long that was added here from 2383 has been rinsed out. But in the process, it's carving out this higher stair step we're talking about. Interestingly, last night's 2:30 a.m. attempt backfired. Because it had run into very strong Indian, Saudi, and SGE physical bids, indicating a bullish change in behavior. Any further momentum-driven selling will be naked short, with insiders exposed to the physical markets on the long side. Of course, by design, the Wednesday through Thursday, this is, of course, this is where the COT cutoffs are. And of course, the only report we have is from Friday. And so basically, you can see here that all of this action, and it never is, always the major action happens after a COT cutoff. None of it was captured in the deliberately delayed COT report, which you're going to have available to you on Friday. Here, the new one will be available on Friday when this episode is published. So really, to sum up the very short-term action into this options wash and rinse cycle, the bid-pulling officials in gold futures have so far been able to suck in the required volume of CTA sellers to offset what can be squared for cash inside the COMEX, alongside a targeted layer of 2,400 spot OCC bets, which I'm sure they have covered. However, these synthetic flows will not have offset the requirement to fully collateralize the 96% unbacked exchange for physicals that do flow out of the NSFR compliant spot gold FX markets into the NSFR compliant spot gold FX markets from the COMEX for physical delivery. This is looking like another officially driven short covering misstep into a constructed attempt at a full gap close.
So,
as I say,
the next stair step will be 2,400 will be the bottom, and then it goes to 2,500. And then he's saying once it hits 2,500, it'll go to 3,000. So there's not, just 25, 26, boom, 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 3,000. We will see if that happens. But you can see we keep getting into the 2460s and 2480s, and then they keep pushing it down because they're getting killed on their options because they're out of the strike zone. So therefore they lose and they have to come up with the money in the gold. And so they're losing a lot of money, the banks, for doing that, but they don't care because they get bailed out anyway. That's why I don't know that your deposits are safe in the bank, because when they keep fucking around with this, then they're not going to lose. They then go to you and take your money, say, we don't have any. All right, let's go to the next gold set up for a higher stair step.
The insiders selling, Asians coming in, insider selling, but this now has somewhat reversed. And this was the first fix sub 2,400 since the 11th of July. And it will have forced the commercials on the long side of every capitulation and fresh momentum short. This sets up gold for a higher stair step, which we have provisionally circled. And these flows will come into for delivery into first notice on next Tuesday, which is when all of the paper positions will have to be fully paid for. In other words, the 4% skin in the game has to become 100%. So what we've discerned is that insiders have been selling the upcoming next liquid month December contract, which I will show here. And again, it's showing another failed gap close. But this is the December contract. It's far more liquid now. This is the next contract that has come into being after tomorrow's options expiry. It's already more liquid, and it's trading at about a $50 premium to the August contract. So what's the game? So insiders have been selling the upcoming December futures contract at a $50 premium versus the soon to expire August contract, which by options tomorrow which is Thursday, will jive with spot. Now, footprints in this December contract also evidence a targeted attempt at this gap close and failed. And this was conducted by way of short selling the December contract that was locking in pretty much a $49 premium to spot, but simultaneously creating downside air pockets in the expiring July contract. And that's how they create these air pockets. Because what they do is, this is actually the August contract, but it expires in July. So what they do is they do the selling in the to gain a $50 premium in the December contract, and then they hide these exceeding, exceed intraday position concentration limits, buying back the August contract at a discount ahead of the close to hide their footprints and to escape CFTC oversight. That's the game.
All right, Andy, that's great update on gold, but what are your thoughts on silver in this current wash and rinse cycle?
Now, looking at the outrageously gamed action in silver futures, which also successfully rinsed out every single non-sticky CTA long, we evidenced an overshoot of the cartel's 30.75 sweet spot. So really, their sweet spot is actually all the way up here. Now, the spot 29 level, which is a 70-cent difference in this September contract. So basically, the spot 29 level has been two-way rinsed a couple of times. opening up the COMEX to very large loadouts. Now, as spot silver is not NSFR compliant, the resulting EFPs land in an unallocated form and are largely able to be cash settled on the books of the cartel members. Hence, putting deliverable silver future warrants in the crosshairs for physical delivery of bullion they don't have, this is going to evidence insiders exposed to these direct backdoor loadouts to short cover. They're going to have to. There is going to be massive deliveries right from the back door of the COMEX.
Andy, that was awesome. And it definitely
Wasn't awesome. Nobody understood what he was saying. All right, the next one is how far down can prices go before it? So again, it's a critical thing.
How far do you think they can get price to fall before that physical market dog begins to wag the COMEX tail once again?
So as we outlined in our last episode, we'd identified very large central bank bids had reaggregated at the higher 2400 spot level. If you remember, we pointed those out. And while we anticipated a momentum-driven CTA overshoot of this very large central bank, sovereign, and institutional bid level, we also expected these competing central banks to patiently wait for a forced Fed derivative rescue event, which they've seen month after month. You've seen on the charts how February, March, April, May, and June, and now July, each one of those was a wash and rinse options derivative event. Why would you not wait for the next one? That's exactly what they were doing. And that's why I wanted to show you exactly those levels. Now, they were just simply patiently waiting for this derivative rescue that would enable these central banks and sovereigns and institutional buyers who know every tool in the Fed's rapidly shrinking toolbox to just get one more wash and rinse cycle into which competing central banks wait to corner a trap Fed known to be forced to rob Peter, to pay Paul, so as to kick the can further down the road, the derivative can further down the road. Now, the launch of Glasniev's gold-backed BRICS currency will be pivotal. Gold will have to be revalued. We talked about this before. And if the Fed-runs casino fails to discover a fair physical price, it's clearly going to be forced to close. Now, a well-connected Chinese contracts aside, the average of multiple credible sources have estimated China's gold reserves constitutes at least 30,000 on the low ball and more likely 40,000 tons of gold, which, to stay off the radar for now, are salted amongst the state-held banks.
Okay, so what did he say? Again, when they go to the gold-backed currency in October, it'll all have to be revalued. So again, he keeps saying it, October, gold-backed currency. And that's going to cause a revalue. And if COMEX isn't smart enough at the fair price, it'll close. Because they're playing these stupid derivative games, but we're going to physical gold in a free market, hopefully, not the paper. So I don't know. I think once you go to physical, it is a free market because that's who wants it and how much you're going to pay for it. Where in paper, you're doing the derivatives, which are the government saying this is the price I want, and they're playing this banking game of derivatives, Eddie Murphy, and therefore it's not really a free market, physical market where I buy, I sell, there's actual buying and selling going on, which is not being taken into consideration now. It is strictly not buying and selling. It is just all done by derivatives. Like I said, if we all went out and bought 1,000 tons of gold, everybody in our class, it wouldn't move the price a penny. The price gets moved by the derivatives up and down. Now they take delivery of them, so they are wiping the gold away from the COMEX, so they can't play as many derivatives. And now what he's saying is they're waiting for it. They know the U.S. is coming near the date. They're going to do the derivatives, so they're waiting for it. And once it hits, they all buy. Like, why buy at 2,400 when I know these idiots are going to are going to do the put option down to 23.50. Okay, so I'll wait, let it go down to 23.50. And then there's this huge demand to buy. And that's why it's back up to 23.85, probably going past 24 on its way to 25. So they're like, okay, fine, go ahead. And now you don't have as much gold. You can't keep doing these derivatives. And I love how they can do it with 4%. So I can leverage 96%. Okay. And then, but they have to pay it up and they're losing their ass, but they just keep printing money, which is more inflation. Say goodbye to the dollar. So that's what he's trying to say. So they're waiting for, so in case you're nervous, oh my God, the price went down to 23.50. Here it goes. It's going down to 23, 22, 21. Because I listen to Yankee Doodle Dandy guy say, oh, it's going down to 2,300. Why? Well, I don't know, but I'm Yankee Doodle Dandy guy. And that's the point. It's not going to get hurt. There's too much demand for gold, which will keep the price up. You have no concerns that gold's going down to 2,000. Like I say, it'll never see 2,300 again. Forget 2,000, 2,100, 2,200, and now 2,300. It's now going 24 to 25. It's going the other way. It's the derivatives knocking it down, but they do it just before the options expire. That's why they did it. So now here we go. They're not doing it. I mean, today they didn't even do the derivatives. I mean, there was no down really. We'll show that at the end of class. All right, back to Mark.
Could be crystallized with a click of a mouse. Now, this conservatively suggests that the percentage of gold that backs the aggregate total of officially reported, as well as Setzer's 3 trillion, that's a 6 trillion assessment of China's FX reserve.
Those are the bonds.
I mean, that is plausibly close when this is actually realized. It's closer to a staggering plus or minus 40% of backing for the currency. And I mean, really, that would constitute the highest gold to GDP ratio of all the global central banks, multiples of the European gold and to GDP average of around 4%. Now, we've been tracking the ramp up and the potential scale of the de-dollarization process and why, Taiwan escalations aside, it doesn't suit China to shoot themselves in the foot by invoking the nuclear option of openly dumping treasuries. Now, what's becoming clearer, though, is that China has, through their secretive shadow banking operations, been stealthily converting a large percentage of these hidden 3 trillions of largely dollar FX holdings into physical gold. Now, once this is ultimately revealed, the price of gold will far exceed Goldman and the 5 first-tier banks' estimate of between $2,700 to $3,000 per ounce in 2024, likely placing 2,700 as a floor, which is Goldman's target, as a floor to rally off. Now, if needed to be invoked, the nuclear option would be for the Sino-Russian alliance to announce they're about to or have already announced a revaluation of their gold reserves, which, to avoid a related internet currency breakdown in the other global central bank currency crosses, which they're all interconnected, it would trigger every other global central bank to also revalue their central bank gold reserves. And that is a process that we've been through before. It is simply can be done with a click of a mouse. Now, as we previously outlined, this can be affected. What the central bank does is simply sell their existing undervalued gold revaluation account gold holdings. Let's just say at what liquidity providers kind of figure it's likely around $1,900. It's been raised from 12, 13, 14 to about 1,900. That's pretty much where the European central banks are. And then into a bid-only market, immediately what they do is sell it, rebuy the same number of ounces back at market at, say, $2,500 to $3,000, instantly crystallizing a gold asset gain, bolstering their GDP gold correlation, which would be supportive of their currencies. And really kind of, that would cement a new floor for the price of gold. Now, notably, at this point, every single central bank, without exception, would benefit from a higher gold price. Now, clearly, this process would once and all eliminate non-Basel III compliant paper gold as a tradable asset class. So, as we previously questioned, so where does this leave the Fed, who, since Nixon withdrew the convertibility of gold for dollars at a fixed price in 71, it remains the only central bank that's continued to bet against gold since Basel III compliance turned gold into a first-year asset class 1.5 years ago, on the 1st of January 2023. Now, as we previously assessed, the only backdoor for the Fed to avoid exposing the degree of rehypothecation of the reported 8,133 tons of Treasury gold would be to also revalue gold from its current Treasury price of $42. Whatever the price, it just be done. Whatever the price would be revalued is where the Sino-Russian alliance revaluation price settles. Now, if they don't, every other global central bank would repatriate their gold, bankrupting and exposing the Fed's gold rehypothecation forward. As we all, and we're not the only ones of that opinion, is that the gold may be in the Treasury vaults, but how many ownership claims are on it? That's the problem.
Got that, Luke?
But as of yesterday, the heat.
So what he's saying is the gold might be in Fort Knox, but it isn't our gold. It's China's gold or India's gold. They've sold it. So where they could open the door and show the 8,000 tons, it's not ours. Like I said, it's like Bobby buying this. So I still have it, but it's Bobby bought it. So it's Bobby's card, even though I still have it. So it's really not mine, it's Bobby's. But yes, look, I have the Mahomes card, but if Bobby bought it, it's his, not mine. Look, been hearing about this revaluation for some time. Well, you got to watch this video. He explains all the derivatives earlier. Basically, it's the Fed. The strike price on the derivatives went out July 25th. That's why you saw gold go from 24.80 down to 23.80. Was the U.S. dumping, but he's saying, but don't worry, it's going to go right back up. They're letting the U.S. do it with the knowledge that they're going to buy it cheaper. So this is all nothing to worry about. That's what I've been explaining Mark McGwire today. Wonder how it will work. I just tuned in now. Recap. Well, that's what I'm recapping. So how it will work is, like he said, it's just a mouse button. And he said 4 times the gold-backed BRICS currency will happen in October. For sure. He keeps saying it. Once they do the gold-backed currency in October, and I guess, because Alligator didn't really say it, and somebody, there won't be gold-backed currency. He's saying, look, okay, I'm going to tell you 4 times. Gold-backed currency is happening in Russia or in BRICS in October. So the recap is, once that happens, the comex either disappears or makes the higher price. And the whole paper derivative was gone because it'll go to a physical price, especially in October. So once Russia says, hey, you know what, BRICS, it's 20,000 an ounce, it's 20,000 an ounce. They just click a mouse and now it's worth 20 grand or 10 grand, whatever. The floor is going to be 3,000. He says once it hits 2,500, it goes to 3,000. There's very little to stop it. Who knows? I mean, everything gets adjusted, but we're going back to 2,500. The floor now is going to be 2,400 to 25. And just like it broke 24 and got to 24.80, because of the option expiration date of July 25th is why you saw that avalanche going down. But they let it go down because they're going, hey, this is great. I want to buy it. I want to buy gold at 24.80, but I can buy it at 23.50. And today it's back up to 23.85, 23.90. It's such an obvious game. So all the central banks are letting the U.S. do it, taking advantage and killing the U.S. because the U.S. is sitting there trying to do it, trying to, thinking they're outsmarting, and everybody's going, yeah, that's good. You can let the price drop and then we'll buy it, take delivery, and really fuck you. He just said how there could be 8,000 tons in Fort Knox, but it's not ours. It's China's or India's. We might have it, but don't own it, which is the example I was showing. If Bobby would have bought this from me, but I'm holding it for him. So it's Bobby's card, but I have it. That's Fort Knox. They have the gold, but the gold's been sold to China. So it's not their gold. That's also what he's saying. So it's a lot of explaining what happened last week, the 24.85 down to 2,400, basically. So he's explaining what happened there. And then he's explaining, like right now, how far down can prices go before they turn physical. So that's what we're explaining now. And then we're going to get in just the regular picture. So here we go.
Turned up on the Fed. In a race alongside every other BRICS bank to secure as much gold as possible ahead of the October BRICS gold-backed currency launch, India has cut gold.
That's the fourth time he said it, right? So he keeps saying it. Like, look, they're doing it in October, the BRICS gold-backed currency launch. So he's hammering that point home. So if you don't believe that, I don't know what to tell you, but that's the fourth time he said it in the thing. Well, they slammed it with derivatives, but it's right back up. And, well, that's just listen up.
Import duties from 15% to 6%, alongside, for the first time since 1990, repatriating the first
at least at worst October
of gold from the Bank of England. Now, and more to come. They're going to repatriate every ounce. A move to repatriate Indian gold reserves stored at the Federal Reserve, luck with that, is reportedly underway. Now, this repatriation request will cause a problem for the Fed, who will either drag its feet, perhaps try applying political pressure, or they're just going to have to go to market to buy back the bullion. Maybe all those things. Now, one way or another, this is bullish for gold. What it's doing is drawing attention to first-tier physical gold being segregated from high counterparty risk ETF and derivative gold. Now, India's onshoring is just one more move by all the global central banks to repatriate their gold ahead of the BRICS currency launch. Repatriating gold is a major component.
See, but that proves, I'll get back to this sentence, that proves that they're doing it, because if you want to be in BRICS, you got to own gold. And so why would India be, getting their gold back? Because they need it for BRICS, which shows you that, we all thought maybe India doesn't want to go to the gold standard. Well, that's proof they are. They need the gold for the gold standard. And so that proves the BRICS gold is coming, as he keeps saying, in October. That's when the price will definitely go up. I think right now we're going to be 2,400 soon. What are we? We're still in July. So, it'll hit 2,500 soon. I don't know how much the U.S. has left to keep doing this $60, $70 drop. They do it at 10 a.m. when the Asian and the Europeans are off, and they knock it down, but they don't care because they buy it cheap. So like I say, it's a buying opportunity when the U.S. does it, and it's all bullshit. They all take delivery, and the U.S. doesn't have much gold left. And then there was one country that sold 11 tons of gold, and Poland bought 10 of them. So what it's showing is the demand's there. If anybody does want to sell it, there are immediately other central banks waiting to buy it. So there's huge demand. And as I explained in my Rolex analysis, you got something with limited supply and huge demand, you get huge prices. Gold is very limited supply, very huge demand, and the price will finally go ahead of the Mano card. I just bought an ounce today from SD Bullion, 2,500. That's pretty good price. You bought an eagle, I assume. Yeah, you can't go wrong. It's all, well, they're a little ahead of us. I mean, spot was up to 23.85. We almost want to wait for the U.S. to do that big derivative and buy it, because we know it's not real. It's derivative, and there's too much demand by all these central banks to buy it that the price will never go down. Here he's calling for a $3,000 an ounce, and then he gets into much more, which we'll hear him say. Okay.
Of the race to de-dollarize into rising geopolitical escalations and the associated sanction risks.
Andy, that's great stuff. Thank you so much for that update. What else are you seeing at this point?
Well, looking at the very bullish larger picture and completely missed by the siloed CTAs, central banks, and institutionals, they're beginning to discern the reason that the bond dollar index, the bond dollar gold correlations have been turned on their head, and it's beginning to dawn. How can you ignore it? Now, Bank of America Hartnett is an institutionally followed analyst. Now, he's got no skin in the gold game. His opinion is, in this latest piece, he picks up on the absolute breakdown of the bond to gold correlation. Now, what is of note is his take, and clearly the view of other first-year banks and central banks, is that gold is an indicator for bonds, namely that gold is increasingly predicting bond market movements. In other words, since FX gold became Basel III NSFR compliant on the 1st of January 2023, deliverable FX gold has increasingly been competing with fiat-backed US Treasuries. And as we now progress through the second half of the year, the lines have crossed where physical gold is now sufficiently liquid enough to predict bond behavior, not the other way around. This will accelerate both the de-dollarization and the revaluation process. Bottom line, summing up his long piece, now that is available to premium subscribers on Zero Hedge. It's there. Hartnett acknowledges that India and BRICS countries are stepping up gold purchases, regardless of price. That is the point. What they're doing is providing collateral for the launch of the October BRICS gold-backed currency. These game-changing bullish for gold drivers are slowly becoming mainstream. Now, this tectonic change in structure has been driven by Global South's BRICS and newly joining members selling bonds and converting these dollars into physical gold at any price to bolster their currencies with as much gold as possible, so as to be able to participate in the rapidly approaching October BRICS gold-backed currency launch. So
again.
Even putting aside the race by the multipolar-driven Sino-Russian BRICS alliances to sanction-proof themselves into an increasingly hostile unipolar-driven environment, given the Fed is printing $1 trillion every 100 days to avert bankruptcy, and these bond offerings are backed by faith alone, is it any wonder why central banks, sovereigns, and institutionals want to switch first-tier asset horses from US Treasuries into physical gold? The next step is for the BRICS to open its own parliament, and there's an announcement on this upcoming. All of these bullish for gold drivers appear to go unnoticed by many COMEX-facing analysts who myopically view the synthetically constructed historical trend lines, which by design result in monthly technically overbought conditions being synthetically sold into. We've shown you multiple examples of that. These siloed analysts miss the fact that the 4% backed gold price is no longer actually trading in correlation with the dollar, bonds, etc., because outside their siloed world, the fully paid up bullion being settled in the far more liquid Sino-Russia physical exchanges consistently trades at a very large premium to the LBMA CME diluted prices. Also, it still also amazes me how the bulk of Western-facing traders accept the COMEX COT reports at face value. We've looked at them before, because by design, it's currently geared to spook traders who would then, as we see these reports start to look bearish, they start wringing their hands over the largest net short bullion position that has built up since April 2022. Obviously, that is by design. And that was when gold was trading at $1,900. And basically, COMEX open interest had topped out at around about 650,000 lots. It used to be 800,000 after COVID. Then we had a big capitulation, and then they rose up to 650,000 lots. Now, so immediately you look at that report, you don't look at anything that's related to that report, and you think there's going to be a rinse. Yeah, okay, a little bit of a rinse. Perhaps you pause and wait for that discount. But what is missed by these traders is that since Basel III NSFR regulations were imposed in January 2023, these COMEX commercial positions, they largely reflect the short hedging leg of a fully compliant long FX gold position. It has to be compliant. So by design, the intent for these market-making swap dealers, for example, they use this large concentrated positioning to pull bids so as to trick out paper long CTAs who have borrowed this open interest, the chips in the casino, from these banks holding the loan book on these borrowers. They know the exact margin called pain point to rinse them out of their 4% long bets. And they are quick to race out. And as we've demonstrated, usually at the most illiquid times of day, generally after Asia, London, Europe have cleared for the day. However, this game has become far too well known and is being capitalized on by central banks, sovereigns, and institutional
That's
fiscal
that 10 o'clock drop.
Converting these synthetic prices by way of outflows of COMEX EFPs. That's the back door to the COMEX and related spot gold fixed benchmarks, which allow them to alchemize these paper discounts. Now, this means that these once COMEX-centric wash and rinse cycles are actually limited to how many CTAs they can square off inside the COMEX before they expose themselves to T+1 real delivery obligations they cannot fulfill. Hence, the higher lows and highs are being disciplined by the global physical markets, where active physical buyers are insensitive to a price sub 3,000. Their focus is to de-dollarize. In fact, I say $3,000 is conservative. Put yourself in China's position. They still have $3 trillion in US dollar reserves, shadow banking reserves, as well as $3 trillion in official reserves to convert into gold. So far, it's not suited them to pull the financial nuclear option of selling dollar-denominated bonds. This would easily drive the gold price to $10,000. But it's a case of actually be really careful what you ask for if you don't own enough gold to offset a major global banking collapse. And Peter Grandish was very, very, very explicit about that. Be careful what you want. So just a quick note on, I think, last Friday's deliberately delayed COT report, because I know that's one of the questions. I know that Shane is not so well, so I know this was one of the questions. So into the gold, there was a $99 rise in price between the two reports. And obviously the new report is not yet published. I'm talking about the ones that are published. And then we saw 63,000 lots of fresh open interest arriving, another 60-odd thousand. We saw 125,000 lots of chips being added. Again, so we saw the insider, agent banks, swap dealers, and producer merchants once again, they one-to-one took the short side of all of the 27,000 lots of hot money CTA longs. And given that they were facing massive, very real T+1 delivery obligations, they clearly knew the Fed was planning to intervene and coordinate with the Fed CTA long rinse. Now, obviously, there are two legs to every trade. So it's not rocket science to see that of the 150,000 longs that have been added from the low 2300s, we looked at that on the charts and picking up volume after 2345. It was put in the rear view mirror on the 3rd of July. At least 125,000 contracts of the last 2 weeks of CTA long stocks rinsed out. And while open interest will appear not to have contracted to the same degree, the difference is the addition of CTA momentum naked shorts, which will be subsequently rinsed after options expiry. So it's quite a different story in SI though, in silver futures, which evidence very large hot money capitulations. However, the dips sub $31, especially below $29, will have commercials on the long side sub their 30.75 sweet spot. Look, I tried to squeeze in as many questions as I could in the short time we have. Now, please let us know if you want more or less of these charts.
Okay. So, Luke, some tech analyst guys, why are you listening to technical guys? Are calling for $8,000 gold in like 6 years. Well, they're wrong. I thought it'd be gold go way higher than that and sooner. Well, yeah, it will, but if you listen to those guys, they don't know what they're talking about. The dollar is going up. So we got $3,000 gold happening soon. And China dumps the rest of the debt, it'll be $10,000 gold. Well, that's not in the technicals. They're just, the tech guys don't understand variables. So they're just looking at what happened, and that's what's going to, so if it's doing this a little bit, then it'll keep doing that. That's what a tech guy does. He doesn't understand the variables have changed. Tom Brady's not on New England anymore, right? Drew Brees isn't at New Orleans anymore. So you can't use those guys' trends to what's going forward. You can use Mahomes because he's still on KC, as is Andrew. So you can look at KC because the variables haven't changed. Kelsey's there, Andy Reid, the defense, Spagnola's there. So if everything remains the same, you can use technical analysis. But we know the inflation's much higher. BRICS is coming October, as Mark McGwire said at least 5 times, which makes us all feel good. All the India and all the other banks are getting all their gold back because they need it to get the gold back currency. So $8,000 in 6 years is a joke. I would bet against that anytime you want. We will be at 10,000 soon. So we're looking at 3,000 coming up. Let's see what happens in BRICS. BRICS could make it go to 10,000, which the technicals couldn't even understand. So when BRICS comes out, gold back currency in October, they're going to want a higher price. And my guess will be probably close to 10,000, maybe 5. And then maybe the next layer is 10. I don't know, but it'll jump. When the dollar goes out, which we don't know the exact date, gold goes through the moon because you can't even price it at dollars. So to say 8,000 is a joke because you're not going to have dollars to price it in 6 years. The dollar's not lasting 6 more years. So when the dollar goes out, gold is even higher. And you won't even know what it is because you can't price it in dollars. But it'll buy a ton. So what you're looking at is what will gold buy in 6 years, and it'll be a lot more than $8,000 gold. But I doubt the dollar will be there. That's why you can't do a 6-year forecast because you don't know how long the dollar is going to last. The dollar's inflated. We know it's lost 99% of its value. I say 100 because you can't buy anything with it, right? Tuna fish, $4 a can now. I mean, what is that? So everything is, the value of the dollar is diminished. And my whole thing yesterday was on COMEX keeping the gold price at a government price or a bank price, not a free market price. So if we get the gold free market, and if that's what BRICS does for us, we're looking at least 10,000 an ounce, probably 20,000 an ounce gold. Because again, it's not free market. It's price fixed by the government, or in this case, JP Morgan. So the banks are the government, are price fixing it. They're keeping the price down, but they're really doing it with derivatives. And now everybody's onto the game. All the other central banks are saying, go ahead, lower it. We're going to buy the gold much cheaper and blow you out because we're going to stand for delivery. COMEX is not set up for delivery. When COMEX goes away or starts to play the game where the gold price is much higher, it'll go way past 8,000. That's a joke. It's very limited and huge demand. And we see from Rolex what that means. We see what the Jordan card is, and the Mantle cards are 80,000. Why would we expect gold to only be at 8,000 in 6 years? I doubt the dollar will be around in 6 years. So it's a moot point. But again, stop listening to the technical analysis unless they're Austrian. And do you hear me do a technical analysis? No, because I know you can't. You cannot do a technical analysis on anything except for the Kansas City Chiefs, unless it's stable. You know, Andy Reid, Mahomes, Pacheco, Kelsey, and the great defense. You can do that, but you can't do a technical analysis. You can't even do it on the Jets. You can't do it on Green Bay. You can't do it on Miami. You can't do it on any of these teams because the variables have changed. The new coach, the new quarterback. So you're looking at Belichick and Brady. Well, they're gone. So how can you tell what they're going to do? That's the problem with technical analysis. There's no fucking way 8,000 in 6 years. That's a joke. With 3,000 to 10,000 gold, mining stocks will go crazy. I assume you then begin selling them for physical. Well, again, the market's going to crash because what happens when China sells their T-bills, or Japan, or a lot of these countries? I think the UK has a lot of T-bills. Well, what happens is they sell it. So what happens to the T-bill? The US dollar comes back to the US. That's massive inflation. So as they start getting out of the T-bills, because they realize they're not going to get paid back and they want to buy more gold, so they get out of the dollar. So they want to get out of these T-bills because they don't want to be in US dollars. So that's US dollars. They want to get out of them, boom, and then buy more gold. China wants to buy more gold. And he just said they have $6 trillion in T-bills. Well, they got to get out of them because now they're trying to sanction China like idiots. So China's pissed off. So China's going to start selling more and more T-bills, just enough. And then they're going to buy more and more gold with it, which will raise the gold price. If they can even find the gold to buy, which is going to be the problem, is there's not a lot of gold out there to buy. Even if China wants to, there's not going to be $6 billion worth of gold for them to buy. That's the warning. Yeah, they'll start buying silver, but that's the warning. Mining stocks will go crazy. Again, keep in mind how stocks work. Stocks are an auction house, and it only goes up if the bidders come in. So if people are going to buy gold stocks, they would go up. But right now, they're not getting out of their precious Amazon and Apple and Microsoft and Tesla. They're not going to sell those. So they're not going to buy the gold stocks. And then as the market collapses, who the fuck's in the market to buy gold stocks? I know what you're saying. The value of the gold will go up, but just buy the gold coins. But yes, I mean, the gold stocks theoretically will go up because the inventory that's priced in gold goes up. But I looked at Newmont Mining. They have negative earnings. So who's jumping on them? So we'll see, but the gold price needs to go up, but it shows you the expense. So yeah, the gold stocks, but I would wait till the market crashes before I buy any stock, even the gold stock. Like I said, Newmont was already down to $28. I had it at 64. So Newmont's getting crushed. So I'm not running to buy it. I assume you then begin selling them for. Well, you got to buy. Here's my warning on that. Will you be able to find physical, and at what price? I'd rather hold physical than stocks or ETFs or IRAs. Anything paper gold, I would rather be in the physical because you have it. The problem's going to be your gold stock goes up, you make good money at it, you sell it to buy physical. Where are you going to buy the physical at? SD Bullion will not have gold to sell you because all the gold that China is going to buy and everybody else is going to be the only gold you're going to be able to buy is if people start selling it. So it hits 20 grand an ounce, people start selling it. You're going to buy their gold. So it's going to be like your tickets, like your brother's tickets. The only ticket to the Ohio State Michigan game is from your brother because they're all gone and they're much more expensive. So carry that to gold. There's not going to be gold out there. It's gone. The only gold you're going to get is when somebody comes in to sell it at my guy's store, and then you can buy it, and it's going to cost you $20,000 an ounce. So keep that in mind. You can buy it for $2,300, well, $2,500 now. If I can buy it for $2,500 now, if I can get it, I'm going to buy it. Not worry about the gold stocks. And then believe me, when the gold stocks go up, the gold's going up. And that's the thing. So COMEX will be broken very soon. That's what he means by the wash and rinse cycle. He's talking about laundry. I don't know. That I can't, it's like, what the fuck's he talking about? But I think COMEX isn't made to be stand for delivery. It's a pricing mechanism. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's all it is. It's communist. It's the government setting the price on gold with derivatives. Never was it a store of gold or to be delivered. Now it's being delivered. It can't handle it. It's blowing up. I don't know that we'll have COMEX much longer, especially when the BRICS countries go gold in October. That would be the point. So you have two flaws. Will the gold stocks go up? Will anybody be in the market? And then two, will you be able to find physical gold? So don't take that, how much it's how you bought 1 ounce today for $2,500. See how hard it is? Well, what if gold's 10,000? What are you going to buy, a quarter ounce? I mean, you can only afford it at so much, and then you can't afford it. So, but what will save us is people will start selling it. So when it hits $5,000, people will go and sell it at $5,000 if they haven't already at $2,300, $2,400. These people are stupid. They don't get it. They don't get the story. So they see 2,400. They're selling everything they have. And so when it hits 5,000, they're not gonna sell it. Then it's up to me and you if we want to sell it, which we're not selling it at $5,000. I might sell an ounce for a medical or something, but that's it. I'm not looking. The bulk of my gold is not going to even be sold. Once the dollar goes out, like I said, the gold's going to buy you a house and a car, and and the silver will be used to buy you food and stuff like that. That'll be 2,000-3,000 an ounce, and it'll get back to 10-1. And what'll happen is, as the gold price goes to the moon, people won't be able to afford it if they can even find it. You're going to go to silver. So silver will go up because I can't afford the gold. I can't afford 2,500. Let's say it's 5,000. I can't afford the 5,000 for the gold. Silver's now 10-1. It's 500. Okay, I can afford that. Until, wait a minute, all these solar panel idiots and electric car idiots have bought most of the silver to make that. Is there going to be silver out there? Sure, now there is, but how long is that going to stay? So you got to be very careful. You've got to be buying it now with the thought of, am I going to be able to buy it later? Right? I mean, that's going to be your question. I'm starting to see cereal on sale, and I haven't had cereal in 3 or 4 years because I'm on this, low, no sugar, very low carb diet. But I'm thinking of buying like Raisin Bran and Lucky Charms and all these big boxes, not to eat now, but to store, because if I go to the grocery store, I don't know what I'm going to find there. And they got to take silver because who's going to use the dollar? So we will see, but you've got to be anticipating the dollar going out. Now, we don't know when, but we know it will, because every currency in the history of life, going back to the Romans, that has been not backed by gold. The Romans were, and then they got rid of their gold, and then they fell. And all the way down, the Germans a couple times, the English, the French, the Spanish, the Amsterdam people who ended up going with tulips, they've always went out. So it's not will the dollar go out, it's when will the dollar go out. But this whole gold thing will make the dollar go out mighty fast, because people will not want it. They'll all run to gold because they'll see that's the out, and then they will all go to it, and then nobody will want the dollar. It'll only be here, but we won't be able to afford anything because the prices will switch to gold. And so it'll be, $5,000 to fill up your car with gas because the dollar's worthless. That's what Zimbabwe and Venezuela are showing us. I was watching this thing on Germany, World War II. And at the end of World War II, they're all bankrupt, Germany, right? And they ended up using cigarettes as barter. So they would go to the restaurants or the grocery stores. Here's a cigarette, and they would take the cigarettes because they had a lot of value for the goods and services. So anything can be bartered. You don't know what it will be. We assume silver will be the best barter for grocery store or restaurant until the U.S. that doesn't have gold. What the fuck are they going to do with the currency? So this is going to be the problem. And the currency goes out, so you can print all you want. It's worthless. That's what happened with the Nazis in 1923. They printed and printed and printed, and they wallpapered their walls with it. It was worthless. That's why you needed a wheelbarrow, because it was all worthless. But the dollar goes worthless. How are we going to eat and buy everything? That's where the gold and silver is going to come in to protect us. It's going to get nasty. That's why I'm ready to move to a BRICS country. To tell you the truth, it's probably the safest place because you'll have a gold-backed currency, and the money runs the country. As long as you have sound money, everything else is fine. But when you don't have sound money, you're fucked. Look at Venezuela, Zimbabwe; they're all like fucking third world countries, except for the leader. He's fat, but the people are in trouble. So it just behooves you to buy at this point as much silver and gold as you can, because you see it now doesn't mean you're going to see it in 2 years. When the prices go up, that means demand went up, which means they've taken all the supply. We know how limited it is. And then you got in silver, the solar power of now, the solar power and electric cars of Saudi Arabia and India. They're making all these solar panels. Although I don't know if they'll stop doing it. This we'll have to see. This ESG bullshit. That's your really key. That's your key. Is it's not going to be like it is right now. It's like, okay, let's say you were buying Rolexes a couple years ago. Now, as I showed you that Rolex video, it takes a year to get them. So you want a new Rolex for $60,000, you can't get it. It'll take you a year for them to make it. However, you can get it used, and it's going to cost you 90 grand, not the 60. Let's carry that to gold. So you have gold, and you want to buy more gold. Well, we don't have it. It'll take a year to get. So maybe you go to my store and give him money, and he says, okay, yeah, here's 100 grand. Okay, I can get you 10 ounces, and it'll take a year. Or you can get it for 20,000 for the ounce of somebody that already has it. He'll sell it back to the coin store for the 20. So it'll be very hard to get at any price. So you have to take advantage of these low prices now. That's why, I'm hitting my credit cards. I don't give a fuck because I know it's going to go up. And the credit card, I don't know what's going to happen if it goes to zero and the banks go out and you don't owe the credit card. I owe it to Chase. Well, there's no more Chase. So I guess I don't owe it. or does somebody take it over? But there's no dollars to pay it with. Do I then pay it with the new dollar, whatever that is? Does it carry on or not? We'll see. I'm sure they'll try to do that if they can, but I'm not sure they can. So that's what you're looking at. So Mark McGwire assures us the BRICS gold-backed currency in October, and that we're almost out of COMEX. And he explained the big drop was just the derivatives, because the excise, the end date of the derivative was July 25th. So as it becomes the end date of you do a derivative now and it ends, let's say August 25th. So I do it today. I've got to cover it by August 25th. And if the price of gold goes up, I can't cover it because I'm an idiot and I shorted it. So I sold it, and then I want to buy it low instead of buying it now and then selling it high. So they're still doing this down derivative for some strange reason. Well, I guess it's like the Secret Service director. She's the one shorting. Oh, gold always goes down. It's not worth anything. It's a pet rock. Even though every freaking central bank and China and Russia and Saudi Arabia and all these countries are buying it hand over fist. Yeah, but, demand doesn't make the price go up, does it? I mean, that's how stupid it is. So why they keep shorting it? They'd make a lot more money if they would buy it and then just let it run up and not do the derivative. They'd make a fortune. But when the strike price happens, when the expiration date happens, October 20th or August 25th, you'll see the drop again because they have to get out of their position. So why they keep doing it, but they're almost done. They're almost washed and rinsed, which I guess means that they've lost a lot of gold because of the buyers taking delivery, that they don't have much gold left to play the game with. And once Russia and China raise the price to 10 grand, they can't be doing derivatives. They can't be saying, well, the COMEX price is 3,000. They can't say 3,000 when when everybody else is selling it for 10, right? So they buy it from COMEX for 3 and they take it and get 10 for it. So anyway. Keep getting these political texts. All right, so that's what's happening. It's blowing up. There's huge demand, which means we know huge price. This COMEX game is ending very soon. Again, we don't know. It's been hit by the iceberg. I can't tell you the exact moment that the ship sinks to the bottom of the Atlantic, but I can tell you it's going to sink because it hit an iceberg and the water's coming in. So we know all that. All right, let's see what gold's at right now. It should be done. It should be closed. All right, let's see. All right, 23.87. So you're worried when it goes down to 23.50, but now we're not worried. Now we say, yeah, it came back. That's what we thought. 23.87. Next week it'll be upper 24s. Silver 27.91. They're still keeping it down for the Saudis and the Indians who are buying all the silver for the solar panels and the electric cars. Or Saudi's going to make them, but I don't know if they will. So with Saudi and India needing tons of silver for the solar panels, that's why it's still kind of low, is because they are keeping it low so they can buy it. But that's going to break because the market dictates everything, and you'll probably see it back to the 30. I thought once it broke 30, it's supposed to go to 35, but this should be back in the 30s. But again, don't worry, it's COMEX, which is blowing up. And as the gold gets too expensive, you will not be able to buy it. It'll be unaffordable, so you'll go to silver, right? And then the silver price will go to, there'll be too much demand for it when the gold price hits 5,000, and I can't afford it. Or like you bought 1 ounce, not before maybe it was 1,700. You might have bought 2 ounces at 3,400, but at 2,500 you can buy one. So you can see 23.87. You bought an eagle, so let's see what that is. What did you say, Luke? Would be nice to see some kind of life in gold and silver. Well, you're seeing it in gold. Silver is still being a little fixed, but it'll get there. Have the faith, baby. Have the faith. All right, let's see what your eagle's going for on eBay. So you paid 2,500. You chose good 25.13, 25.16. The Buffalo 25.60, 25.47. Here you go, 25.55. And the Maple Leafs 24.86, 24.90. They're always a little bit catch up. Here's 25.27 for the Eagle. So your 2,500 is 25.14. We haven't seen any of them under 25 yet. So you made a good price. 1/10 of an ounce, 278. The Cougar ran 24.80. The Maple Leaf was 24.90. They're always a little bit under, like $20 cheaper than the Eagle. $24.74, $24.72 for the Cougar ends. Half ounce Eagle, 13.02. There you go. 1 ounce Maple Leaf, 25.18. So if I go to my coin store, it's going to be 23.85 plus probably 100. Their premium is like that. So they go 100 over spot. Now, if I go to sell it at the coin store, he's going to give me spot. So I'm going to get let's say 2,400. Or I can sell it here on eBay and get 2,500. So I get the premium if I sell it on eBay. So more than likely it'd be better to sell them on eBay. However, if I want convenience and I want to go to the guy's store, lose $100, but I can go today, I can get the money today, and I'm done with it today. Is that worth it? Depending on how I need it. But it gives you options. That's why I'm confused when you say it's not liquid. It gives you options. You can sell it on eBay. You can do a one-day auction. I'll buy it right now at $25.20, and somebody would have bought it, and that's it. You'd be fine. Or maybe you do $24.90, and you cut $10, and then you'll get yours sold in a minute. So then you'll get PayPal will give you your money, and then you ship out the gold. I mean, you got to use insurance, so it's a little bit. You got to pay for the auction and use insurance on shipping. So that's the only other thing. So that's why I might go to my guy, because as it gets more expensive, to put the auction up, you got to pay a percentage, gets a little higher, and the shipping gets a little higher with insurance, because it's a $10,000 ounce of gold that you might want to just go to the store and go, I lose $100. When it hits 10 grand, so I get 9,900, I'm perfectly happy with that. So that's how it works. It would be nice to see some kind of life. Okay, 25.13. So isn't that life? It's 25.13 you paid for it. So you're pretty much in the ballpark then. They're all, so if you look at what you did, 25.13, 25.16, 25.55. So you did okay. 25.27. Nothing's under 25.13 except for the Cougar and the Maple Leaf, which are 24.90, which that's what you would have bought it for there. So you did fine, and it's at its lowest, right? It's not even at 2,400. Next week we'll go up back into the upper 24, 24.50, 24.75. because they shot their wad. They're not going to do that down derivative because they're running out of gold to do it with. As he says, they rinse and they wash, or whatever laundry terms he uses. That's the problem with Mark. He uses these strange terms. You're like, what the fuck are you saying? They're not finance terms. Wash and rinse, and the ring fence. What's he talking about? So I just, I try to get him, but that's basically where it's at. So you made a good buy. Let's see what my quarter ounce is going for. I got a lot of quarter ounces. So it's 634. Well, Maple Leaf is 641. The Eagle 673. These are very cheap. Eagle 675. Cougaran 648. Eagle 668. 674. So these will all go to 700. I was buying them at 5, I remember. Now they're upper 6s. So that's, you've got to project, and we're 5 steps ahead of the game. I'm always 5 steps ahead. So we know what's happening with brics in October. We know the price is going to have to go up because they can't print enough dollars. They have a gold-backed brics currency with the gold they have because it's too low of a price, 23 or 20, let's say 2,400, 2,500. They have to print too many dollars because they're printing for fucking India and China, which has 1 billion people. Russia's not, a lot. And then Saudi Arabia, and then South Africa, and these other countries that want to, South Korea, Indonesia are joining. They got a lot of people. So there's a lot of dollars that need to be printed. So they're not going to print them at 2,400. It'll be, at least 10 grand, if not higher. And that's why they keep buying it. Because if you want to buy the brics gold-backed currency, you need gold. And that's why these countries are accumulating the gold so they can buy the gold-backed brics currency. So it's a no-brainer. So it's going up. It has to go up. And you know why it goes down is derivative, paper, government/bank pricing the gold, not the free market. This is not at free market. This is not supply and demand. Nobody is selling to lower the price. It's all done by derivatives. But it's blowing up. So once we get to a physical price and we stop these stupid derivatives, and then it becomes like your brother, how much does he get from the Michigan-Ohio State game? Well, if they're both undefeated, how about the Ohio State-Oregon game? He'll make a fortune on that game. They're the best 2 teams in the country, less Georgia and Utah. Georgia, Alabama, your brother make a fortune on that game. So how much? But that's supply and demand. That's free market. The supply is limited. The demand's huge. Georgia, Alabama, fuck. Ohio State, Oregon, Jesus Christ. You could sell 500,000 tickets to that game. So the demand is huge. Supply's low. Price goes up. Well, that's free market. That's not the government saying, well, Luke's brother, you can only sell let's say it costs you $300. You can only sell them for $400, right? If the government told him to do that, he wouldn't do the business. But because he's allowed to do free market and he can charge what the market will bear, I want 10 grand for a 50-yard line, Ohio State, Oregon. And I want 10 grand for 50-yard line, Georgia and Alabama. And he'd get it happily. He should ask for gold, actually. But he'd get it without a problem for those 2 games. Fuck the rest. Fuck Ohio State and Eastern Illinois. Just concentrate on those games. And you'll be fine. Michigan, Texas. Sell that for 10 grand. Not a problem. Piece of cake. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So any of those big games, he could get 10 grand at 50-yard line, and people would pay it because people are out of their minds. So That's what he does, but it's because it's free market and not government intervention or government pricing, communism. The government sets the price. He wouldn't be able to do it, but because it's a free market and the market sets the price, and that's what we want in gold. And that's why you see how I say such a high gold price is if we can get to free market, which is what BRICS will do. And then the only way to buy it is if somebody sells it, and then I'll sell it. I want 25,000 for my ounce, and there will be buyers. So that's really the key to it. So that's why $8,000 is a joke in 6 years. The technical, they don't understand. They're still thinking it's derivative. It's not going to be derivative anymore. That is gone because they can't. They're getting. It's not made for delivery, and all these people, all these countries are buying the gold. They're taking delivery of it off of COMEX. So there's not much left for them to sell. And if they run out, then it becomes your brother. It becomes secondhand, and then the price goes to the moon. And BRICS will knock the price way up. So I would be thinking when that happens, it won't be like it is now, up $50, down 50, now we're at 24, now we're at 25. It'll be, gold is now 10,000 an ounce. That's what'll happen. I love the banks. The banks are saying, maybe 3,000. It's like, hey, what are you guys, idiots? What do you mean the banks will be, what do you mean 3,000? It's not going to keep running the way it is. It's the derivatives are gone to push the price down. So the price just goes because the demand's there for fucking BRICS. And all these countries need gold. And the central bank's buying. And I heard 40 countries are joining BRICS in October. Maybe not all 40, maybe it'll be 20 or 25, but it's going to 80 countries because everybody's tired of being bullied by the U.S. And by the way, the U.S. dollar is being de-dollarized and will have no value. Who the fuck wants to hold it anyway? And your only option is BRICS and the gold-backed currency. They'll be the kings because they got the gold, and those with the gold make the rules, and we don't have any gold. It's rented out. It isn't ours. So even if there isn't Fort Knox, which I find hard to believe, because if there was, they'd show it. They just wouldn't tell you it's all rented. They'd say, here you go. See, here's our 8,000 tons. Why don't they do that if they have it? Because if it is there, it's China's. And otherwise, China probably already took delivery and it's empty. So that's the bottom line, Mr. Stone Cold. So anyway, we'll get to the point, Luke, where you'll start buying quarter ounces for $670. That you'll be able to afford. That's what I've been doing lately. A lot of tenth of an ounce, quarter ounce, and it won't matter. Gold will be so expensive, the quarter ounces will be worth a fortune. So that'll be the kick. That'll be the way out. So you won't be able to afford an ounce all the time. I mean, that's been my problem waiting for this job and the trust is getting the ounce. So I get the quarter ounce and the tenth of an ounce. I get a lot of those. And my credit card's going up, but I don't care because it'll be worth so much more than I own the credit card. If I buy it for 500, let's say a quarter ounce, now it's worth almost $7. Well, but I only owe $5 on the credit card. So anyway. That's what we got. Baseball, let's go through it. It's just started. Detroit over 7.5, 7 units. Philly under 8, 3 units. Tampa over 7.5, 5 units. Baltimore, 3 units. Toronto over 8. I think that's 3 units. Seattle under 7.5, 3 units. Kansas City, 2 units. I like Milwaukee, didn't bet it. St. Louis over 7.5, 3 units. Oakland over 9.5, 3 units. They've been red hot. And your Steelers under 8.5, 3 units. So that's what's going on. Next Thursday, exhibition football, the Bears. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Caleb. They probably won't play him. Big mistake. He needs to play a half. He needs to play one half of all the preseason games just to get a feel. He is not that good. He's not running the USC bullshit offense that me and Luke can quarter and throw 5 touchdown passes because the way the system's set up. But all these quarterbacks get in the NFL. Jalen Hurts, what happened to him? Couldn't beat Tampa because they started the blitz and they realized that he can't do it and he's fucked. Kyler Murray, he runs around a lot. And Caleb ain't going to do crap. Good luck thinking he will, but he's not all that. I'd much rather have Penix and Bo Nix and Jalen Daniels are much, much better quarterbacks because they ran in normal systems. Penix was just a regular pro offense, and Bo Nix, Jesus Christ. And then you have Daniels was not any fancy offense, just LSU being LSU. And, I don't know if the receivers are that good or Daniels made the receivers that good. So we will see. But that's what we have going on. So pretty thorough show today. I got to charge my phone. So we now understand fully gold is price fixed by the government, like communism, not free market. We get that. That's what makes the price drop because the government wants it. But they're not in the game by themselves. What spoils the U.S., what they don't understand is the rest of the world's buying it cheap and laughing at them. So they do this cut from 24.80 to 23.80. And all the countries are rubbing their hands going, good, I'll buy it. Thanks for cutting $100 off the price for us. We'll buy it at this price. So the U.S., they don't know what the fuck they're doing. If they're doing it to get the price down, they're idiots. If they're doing it for the derivatives, go to Bitcoin and do that. But you're fucking with something so highly in demand. Why would you short it? You got to be out of your mind, which of course they are. So that's what we have. Does gold start to roll in October? Absolutely. Well, it's going to roll before then, but yes. Once the BRICS, they're going to have to revalue it, as I said, because they got to print all these dollars. So I guess when they do it, it'll be probably 10,000 an ounce, but maybe they start at 7. Maybe they go, it's 7 or 10, more likely 10, because they can't. The idea of a gold standard is you have to have as much gold as you have dollars. So if you have $10 billion in gold, you can print $10 billion in dollars. You can't print 11 because each dollar is backed by gold. Now here it'll be 40%. So each dollar, you'll be able to go to the bank and get 40% gold for it. So that's the point. So it has to be much higher because at 2,500 or even 3,000, you got to print so many dollars because you got to cover India and China and Russia and all these vast populations. You start adding Indonesia to it and South Korea, I believe, and Saudi Arabia, UAE. You got a lot of big populations that are going to want, gold. So you're going to have a higher price to print as many dollars. And as I was laughing at the guy when I was on the bike last week, we got 350 million people. How can we go on the gold standard? Well, if we raise the price to 10,000 and maybe 20,000, and then we can print the dollars, you're not going to get gold coins, everybody here. You're going to get these dollars, just like I showed you Zimbabwe. Then you got plenty of dollars. What did we do from 1945 to 1971? We were on the gold standard. We had probably 300 million people. Wasn't a problem. All the dollars were gold backed. So it's not because there's 350,000 or 350 million people that we wouldn't have enough gold, because you're not issuing the coins. You're issuing dollars backed by gold. So everybody doesn't need to run out and get the coin. You can just use the dollar. But yeah, by October, figure conservatively 7,500 an ounce once it goes into operation. So they might announce it in October, say, okay, we're doing the gold backed currency. We'll do it in 30 days. Okay, so when they announce it, they're going to have to raise the price. When they actually go into production with it, then for sure it's got to be a much higher price. in which case Comex either matches or goes out. Either way, we don't care because now Shanghai is going to control the price and they're going to want a higher price because guess what? They got all the gold. So the U.S., in infinite wisdom, the only way we can survive is to come out with a gold-backed currency because our paper fiat stuff, or if it's a CBDC or whatever the fuck you want, it's not going to have value. And your Bitcoin will go to zero because it's priced in dollars. And if we don't have gold, we can't price it in a gold-backed currency. So Bitcoin's fucked. Your Jordan rookie at 500 grand goes to zero, but will get repriced in gold. So it might be 5 ounces of gold for the card. So that's what will happen. So everything like the Rolexes in your house go to zero in dollars, but gets repriced in gold-backed currency. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Russians and the Chinese start buying up houses and Jordan cards in the BRICS currency because it'll be worth a lot. They won't have, they got all the gold. They'll be able to buy all the assets. So that's what we'll have. So they'll be buying a lot of Rolexes. So hold your Rolex, Nick, because the Chinese will be buying it soon. That's why you own assets. They won't lose their value. It'll go to zero temporarily in dollars, but it will have a value in the gold-backed currency. That's the key that you must understand there. So don't freak out when your house is worth zero. We know it's going to be worth zero, but we know it'll be repriced in gold-backed currency. However, since we don't have it, it'll be the BRICS countries buying your house. Or somebody like me saying, or you, Luke, going, I'll give you a few ounces of gold for your house. What other choice do you have? Well, dollars don't work. I don't have gold because I wasn't smart enough to buy it. So that's why I say, Luke, when you go to buy the house with the gold, he'll be so excited to get gold. He'll give you the house for it because he needs the money because he's got to sell the house to eat. That's my point about, like, how do you go to the grocery store with gold or silver? Well, you sell it for money. So, but if you don't have gold and silver, how do you go to the grocery store with the house? You can't use the house or the Rolex to go to the grocery store. So you have to sell it for money that'll take it. And then it's going to be interesting to see what does Kroger's do? How do they reprice all their food into silver? Okay, 1/10 of an ounce for tuna, 1/4 of an ounce for milk and butter, and steaks are going to be a 1/4 ounce of silver. That's what they'll have to do because the dollar will be worthless. So you won't be able to sell. How are they going to get paid? It's all worthless. So keep that in mind. So that's why you want as much gold and silver now while it's available before it gets too expensive and there won't be any of it. So keep that in mind. It's all this solar panel crap is eating up the silver supply. So remember, these derivatives are bullshit, selling a lot more ounces than there are in the world. There's not that many ounces, but since they're leveraging it 4% actual, 96% paper, they're selling 1 billion ounces of silver, but there's not 1 billion ounces of silver, right? There's not that many silver. So what are they selling? So the whole thing's just terrible. And hopefully we get to a free market on it. And then we can see some real prices. However, we won't be able to afford it when that happens. So we've been getting a very strong break by them keeping the price low. We can afford all this, but we realize that it is going up. That's how you got to look at it. We've been lucky that they kept the price down. Otherwise, it'd be like a Rolex or, the Jordan card. I don't have 500 grand. I can't buy the Jordan card, or I don't have 100 grand for a Rolex. Yeah, but I got 2,000 for gold. That's what you got to realize. Lucas, Eagles are constitutional legal tender, but you can't use them to buy anything. Yes, you can in many states, but at face value. So I think you can there's 11 states that you can use them to buy. However, you're not really looking to buy with the eagle because the dollar's still there. So you go to the coin store. You got to come visit me, and then you can take your gold in. He'll give you money for it. And you use that to buy things with. It's like using a Rolex to buy things with. You can't use the Rolex to go out for a steak dinner, but you sell it for the dollars that are used to buy the steak dinner. So yes, the eagle you transfer into dollars to use it. You can't use it yet, but you will be using. Well, you'll use the gold back currency, but you're using it as a transfer that you'll sell it and it'll be worth a fortune. Just like a Rolex now. You have $100,000 Rolex. That's great. You sell it and you get $100,000 for it. That's the point of the real assets. So the fact you can't use gold at the grocery store does not stop you from having the value, selling the gold, getting the money, and use the money at the grocery store. So you got a Picasso, you got the Jordan rookie, you got the Montana rookie. All these, they're worth a ton. It's just, I'm not taking the Montana to the grocery store either. But if I needed to, I would sell it and get the money, and that would allow me to eat. That's the point of the real assets. So buy your cards, buy your Rolexes, buy your gold and silver. You're not wrong about the stocks, but it's too much. The market's going to collapse. So it's just a matter of, do you want to be in it while it's collapsing or wait till it's done? But I would, if it was me, I'm not in any stocks. I was in Newmont and watched it go from 64 to 28. So I'm really not, what am I going to do? So yeah, it'll go up. But if I have the ounces of gold, I don't worry about the stock going up because I can't control the stock price. That's also in dollars, and it's in US dollars, and it's based on other people buying it. That's the problem with it. So I'm not really, I'd much rather own ounces of gold like you bought today than stock. You don't pay tax on your gains in gold when you sell. I don't think you do in Eagles. In US, I don't believe in US gold you pay a tax. I'm not sure anymore what you pay a tax on. I also have heard if it's a fractional amount of gold, you don't pay tax on it. I'm not sure. I read where the Cougaran and the Philharmonic and the Maple Leaf you don't pay tax on. So I'm not really sure what it is. And then where do you sell it? Oh, we'll go to Switzerland and meet Egon and sell it there, and we won't pay a 1099 on it. So it depends where you sell it, because if they don't give you the form, you don't pay tax on it. So I'm not sure, where I'm going to sell it, and I'm not sure what the tax implications are. Who the hell knows? I can't find they're not prepared for it, right? So if I get 20,000 for my Eagle, do I have to pay tax on it because it's an Eagle, because it's US? I don't know. But do you pay tax on your Picasso, on your Rolex? Do you pay tax on your Rolex? So I want to go on eBay, sell my Rolex for 100,000. Somebody buys it. I give them the Rolex. They give me the 100,000. Do I pay tax on it? I don't know. It's not a stock. See, the stock, you got the paperwork, so you owe it. But I don't know. eBay, I think, issues a 1099, I guess. But I haven't sold anything on eBay to know about that yet. So just maybe you do, but if let's say you just bought it for 25.13 and you sell it for I don't know what it won't even be dollars, right? If the dollar goes out and you sell it, what are you going to get for it? I mean, I bought a house. Well, they're not going to 1099 you on the house. I think the seller pays the tax, not the buyer. So I don't know, but let's say it's 20,000 an ounce and you sell it. Do you pay a 1099 on it? I don't know. But it's not, it's money. So it really isn't a capital gains. Capital gains are stocks. I bought the stock for $1,000. I sold it for $2,000. I gained $1,000. Somehow I have to pay tax for doing it. But if I lose money on it, it doesn't help me unless it offsets the gain. It's a fuck system here with all the taxes. So you go take a risk, you make out, and then you still got to pay tax on it. How's the government your partner? Do you pay tax on your mantle? No. Maybe when I sell it, I might have to. Depends how I sell it, but no. Not for them just sitting here. No, I don't pay tax on them. Basically, nobody knows I have them. Same with gold. Nobody knows I have the gold. That's the beauty of gold. Your bank sends a statement. Your stocks send a statement. So the government knows you own stocks and money in the bank. They don't know about your gold, and they don't know about my mantle. They have no idea I have it. Not that but I haven't sold it, so there's no capital gains tax. If I got my Montana graded and I could get 125 for it and I paid 100 for it, yeah, I don't know if I'd pay a tax on it. Probably, but I'd be happy to pay a tax on it. If I sold it for 125 and my tax is 10%, I owe 12 grand. So I walk away with 100. Yeah, that's fine. I paid tax on it. That's my point. So if you do sell it, if you bought it for 2,500, you sell it for 25,000, you made 23,000 on it. Maybe you paid 10%, 2,000 in tax. Well, you walk away with 20,000. Yeah, you're probably pretty happy. Although, what would 20,000 be worth soon? It'll buy chips in a beer. But that's really the point of it. Yeah, a lot of tax. They gotta know that you bought something and you sold something. So if you don't, when you buy gold, they don't know you have it, and when you sell it, depends who you sell it to. They might not know you sold it, so that you have nothing to worry about. We'll see. Anyway, so it's 7:00. I'm going to the lake. I am fasting today because I'm dumb enough to eat. I got the chocolate graham cracker. Don't ask me why I do this, because I tell you not to, and it's how bad the sugar is. And I got one of those containers, and I eat the whole fucking thing in 2 days. I have no willpower. Like if I were to get the Oreo box, I would eat it, and within 2 days, 3 days, I'd eat it all. And then I would wonder why my feet hurt. And then I got to go fast. I don't know why. There's stress impulses that make me want to go to sugar. So waiting on the trust, waiting on the jobs, waiting on the gold, waiting on the football season to start. So all this stress building up, and leads me to chocolate for some reason. And then I got to pay for it by fasting so I won't eat today, and then I won't eat. I'll have dinner tomorrow. Anyway, I will talk to you tomorrow, probably about 11 o'clock. And then I'll go to the pool, then I can eat. So anyway, have a good night. Thanks for the questions, Luke, Greg, and John. That's why I do it live, so you can ask what your concern is. Again, I don't know what the 1099s will be. I know if we make money on stock, they want to 1099 us. However, if we're not playing stocks and I buy gold, and it's like if I make money at poker, I don't pay tax on it. If I were to win $1,000 tonight playing poker, I don't pay tax. They don't tax me at the casino. They tax me if I hit a slot machine for 10 grand. But poker, because they don't know what you started with. So if you walk away with 2 grand, they don't know if you put in 2,500. So they don't know. They don't tax you. That's all under the table. They don't know you played poker, and they certainly don't know if you won or lost, and they certainly don't tax you. So it depends what it is. Depends if you pay tax. So FYI there. Anyway, that's it. Good luck on the baseball today. Football, we start next week. Football's preseason Thursday. Again, I'm not going to do the 20% if you play a 5-team teaser at 20% if you win it. Really, I was just doing it for current customers, not if you weren't a customer, because then you have my picks. Otherwise, I'm naked to you have my picks, but if the 5-team teaser doesn't win and it goes 4-1, you have my picks for nothing. So I can't do that. That's not going to happen. So it's like adjusting to the baseball. I'm adjusting that. So the packages are out. The website's all set. So just go to teaserking.com, purchase picks, and buy what you want. But it's early, probably middle of August, unless you're doing a package. I have one guy who buys and pays me like a couple of payments. So he's got to pay early. But if you're just buying the package, you buy the package and off you go. And then you get the password, or you're going to take the class like this. Only here's all free with football. I go through the games and I'll do the picks, but it'll be in class. And that'll be 25 for college, 25 for pro each week. And I'll probably do 2 classes, like a Wednesday, Sunday, and like a Friday, Saturday to go through everything. Anyway, that's what's going on off to the lake, and hope everybody has a good night and a good weekend, and take care, everybody. All right. Ciao.